Here we go, Thursday night, guys. We got a great show for you. A lot of late-breaking news. Love that about Thursdays. Thursdays have become the late-breaking. It was funny because back when I said this a couple weeks ago, when we used to do CrossFire on Fridays, all the news was breaking then. And I said, geez, I said, move to Thursdays. I wonder if I'm going to lose some of this late-breaking news. Absolutely not. A lot of news broke yesterday. Today, on top of that, I want to say what's up to everybody. Please go ahead and feel free to hit that like button, tweet it out, share it out on all the social media out there. Let a family member know. Speaking of family members, I see a lot of the Mooch Maniac family members out there. Shout out to the great MASH, who's out there and been donating 10, 20, 30, 40 memberships a week. Unbelievable. All your names are listed below there. If you're not, let me know. I will add you to the list. You are part of the family. I want to give a special shout out to the great C-Note Matthews Jr. Shout out to C-Note. C's done some amazing work for me. I don't know if you guys got a chance on the channel to go and see when we did the breakdown week by week of The Last of Us when it was on HBO. But all those amazing beats that you heard, and he's actually working on something for me right now for YouTube and for Twitch streams. Just glad that C-Note is back with us, feeling great again. C-Note, great to have you with us, man. Great to see you in the chat. Guys, take a look at that outstanding description down there. Speaking of how to become a family member on your own, PC Hawk did it himself just 2 weeks ago. Shout out to PC Hawk. Appreciate him being here as well. There's that join button right above that amazing description. Gives you a little idea what's going on tonight. You hit that, you get your name in green. There's the great Rob Jones as an example. Mooch, what's up? Hope you're good. Crossfire, baby, let's go. The great Rob Jones, everybody. Great to see everybody here. I see Lucci Sky, Matt is out there, Neil Augusto, Tyson Webb, Moose, RPG88. RPG, I promise you, we will be getting back. We will be getting back to our Twitch streams very, very soon. These dog days of summer, catching up on some backlog of gaming. I've been kind of in this war zone, unbelievable, I don't know. I got a problem. I just play it all the time. I got buddies hitting me up. Mooch, let's go. Come on. We're all getting together. We're getting the group back together. Let's go. So what do? I play. That's what I do. I play. That being said, guys, while you're hitting that like button over and over and over again, and tweeting it out, letting people know we're live, I have an outstanding panel here. And I'm going to go through each one of these guys one by one to say thank you. These guys are phenomenal people being here on a hot August evening. Okay, I'll start with the one and only. It's hard to get this man on the show. He's a regular that's not a regular. The great Detective Seeds is back on the show. Seeds, great to have you here. You may be the Houdini panel member, but we love it. We love it when you're here, buddy, because the show's that much better. How you doing tonight, Seeds?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. Obviously, my what I call my big boy job is pretty busy this time of year, so gotta pay the bills, man. Gotta pay the bills. If not, I'll end up with an OnlyFans. So it's good to be here, and look forward to chopping up and talk some games.
Absolutely. Seeds, I wish I lived closer to you. I happen to know what you do, and I would love to get free tickets. Nonetheless, who's mooching this early on a Thursday? Okay, Seeds, great to have you, buddy. I appreciate it. You guys know him. He's becoming a regular, and I love him. I really, really do. I absolutely love him. Guys, I hope you know your geography. We've been giving a bit of lessons every single week here on the channel on what England, the UK, and Wales, and the separation, so you guys understand what's going on overseas. Come on, Americans, we have to lighten up. We have to learn a little bit here. The great Dead Singer is back with us again. Singer, great to have you here as always. How you doing this evening?
Oh, I am doing absolutely fantastic. You know what it is? It's going to be a great show. We have a fabulous panel. So,
Singer, you couldn't have you said the word fabulous, and the minute fabulous is said, guess who appears? The great Mr. Badbit. That's just what happens. Mr. Badbit is probably one of the most fabulous YouTubers. He's very positive, loves gaming, happens to have a bit of fondness towards Bloodborne. I don't know where he got that from, but if you're following him, you just may know. The great Mr. Badbit is with us, and with a little inside knowledge. Not to mention, we have a little inside knowledge for you guys tonight. Mr. Badbit, how you doing this evening?
And I'm doing fantastic. Yeah, no, I can't wait to talk about a little Star Wars Outlaws, dreading talking about some Bungie news. But other than that, man, I'm doing pretty darn good. Excited to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, Mr. Badbit. Speaking of great to have here, the great TCMF is back with us. TC, I got to tell you, and I made a joke during the pre-show, and I'm sure you heard it. But we had TC on almost every other week through the FTC trials, and he just was like, Mooch, just please bring me on for games. Okay, consoles. Let's talk something else. TC, it is a privilege and it is an honor to have you here tonight and not talk about anything related to court cases. TC, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm here to talk about games and whatever else we're going to be discussing. I saw the topic list. Looks like it's going to be a good show, as it usually is. Like that every time.
Thank you, TC. I appreciate that. But listen, I gave TC carte blanche. TC has a couple of things he may just sneak in there for you guys as we go through these topics. So TC knows that he can let go and fire whenever he wants to. So the great TC is with us tonight. And last but certainly not least, one of my favorites from over across the pond, the great Nib95 is back again. Nib, honestly, listen, first of all, I love the work you do on Twitter, now known as X, okay? I love the amount of time and effort you put into it, the research,
Thank you.
Okay? But let's be honest here, okay? I'm 100% Italian. What I'm really in awe of is the restaurant business you're in and the food you put out. So please keep the food pictures coming. Thank you, Nib. Nib, how you doing today, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. I did want to clarify something. Steve, you said if you don't pay the bills, you're going to have to start your OnlyFans. Are you saying the Detective C's OnlyFans I've been signed up to is not you all this time?
It's not. I'm much larger.
Oh my God. Some of the things I've seen. Are you telling me it's not you?
It's me.
No.
Those are my feet, Nib. Those are my feet. Yeah.
Sorry to disappoint.
Well, listen, guys, let's get into our. We'll get into our first
here.
topic tonight, guys. Please, again, as we start the show, please hit that like button. Go ahead and tweet it out. Let's get a lot of people in here tonight. This is going to be a great show. So, Nib, I'll start with you. You have done diligent homework time and time again. We are going to start with Bungie tonight. And, you know, there's a couple caveats here. We were talking before the show, and we say, okay, is this just one of those situations, Nib, where I say to you, oh, Bungie laid off more people, so that's it? I don't feel that's it at all here. I kind of think as we walk forward, and I know a lot of people, this news just broke about how they've laid off those people. That's awful. I hope and I know that those people will rebound and probably work for other companies and share their talents over there. But in all honesty, is this a situation where Sony, Nib, saw that Bungie was internally failing at the higher management level? And this is where they're going to finally come in and maybe redeem some of the qualities that still remain at Bungie. What do you think, Nib? I mean, it's not just as easy as and I have the stats here. I think it's 220 employees were laid off. That's what I have here. This was early when the news came out. Maybe that's changed slightly.
So it's 220 that have been laid off.
Yes,
an additional 155 who are being relocated to Sony.
Yes.
And then an additional 75 who are going to a new studio. So all in, I think it's 450 switch-ups, 220 layoffs, and they're reducing to 850 total staff.
So what do you think when you hear something like that? First of all, again, like I say, heart goes out to everyone that lost their job. That's an awful.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awful. And it's just something that we don't want to see. And we've been seeing it time and time again here in 2024 from a bunch of different publishers and developing studios. But when it comes down to it, Nib, this seems like a situation where there is a lot of talent. People still say that Destiny, as it is, right? The original Halo creators, Bungie, have some of the best shooting mechanics, and there's some immense talent in that studio. So
it's really interesting. So obviously, there's only some of this conversation is going to be conjecture because we don't know the specifics.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah, we can muse on what the reasons could be, but we do have a timeline of things that have occurred that give us a bit more of a rounder picture proceeding up to this. But what I'll say is, like, remember, I think it was maybe like 6 months ago or something like that. The interim CEO of who took over, I think he's in between while Jim Ryan's stepping down. He made a comment about Bungie, and he said, like, the way they run things is not efficient, and they're not really thinking
right
in terms of the cost saving aspects. And it's very unusual for a CEO to be so candid about a studio like that. Super candid. And then after that, we have a round of layoffs in October, right? So already we're seeing some ramifications following on from that comment. And then now we have another round of layoffs. And there's been a report, I don't know if it was Jason Schreier, I can't remember who wrote the article, but about how at the moment Bungie have autonomy. However, if certain success metrics aren't maintained in terms of revenue and sales and things like that, then and margins, then essentially Sony can take control, and they have the opportunity to take control. So I do wonder, some people think this is Sony taking control, whereas I've read tweets from people who have been laid off who are saying this is all Bungie. So I think it could be Bungie protecting themselves against a potential Sony for losing autonomy to Sony. Maybe tightening up the ship, etc. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. But in that little excerpt that they put on their website, they did mention that these layoffs hit leadership and lower down roles. So it seems to be across the board, which again makes me think it's very being frugal financially. Because if you're getting rid of leadership as well, you're getting rid of some of the people who cost you the most, right? So you can replace them with people who probably haven't been there for so many years, hence don't have that kind of accruing of high salary. So yeah, I really do think it's probably like a tightening ship. And personally, I think probably Sony hasn't taken over yet, based on what I've read, and it could be that they're trying to prevent that, but we don't know, right? But it is really interesting. And the only thing I would say is there's a lot of negativity, and even I put out some negative. I was digging about the CEO and some of the comments that people have made. Really, really vitriolic comments from some of the ex-employees about his poor management. And and I know not to delve into his personal life, but I was just curious. But there was something I found out as well, where like in the last 2.5 years, he's bought 26 luxury cars totaling $2.5 billion. So it's like crazy. This guy's been on a spending spree. So there's really bad optics going on as well.
Nobody talks about it. Nib, nobody talks about it. But Seeds, I'm going to give you the mic in a second. I just want to say, when I see that, I mean, let's be honest, okay? They were bought for a large sum of money, but that is an absorbent amount of vehicles to purchase in a short period of time. It's just interesting how he decides to handle it. If he handles his home checking account like that, I wonder how things are in the office. Seeds, what do you think when you hear that? Because Nib gave some great stats.
Yeah, I'll be honest. You look at Bungie as a whole, and I'm going to dance around this the best that I can without getting too political. And so just hear me out so I don't get clipped kind of in the middle and what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Bungie said that Xbox was the problem, or Microsoft was the problem when they were dealing with it. Then they said Activision was the problem. And now they're trying to push, if you look at the initial layoffs, Pete Parsons made it seem like it was Sony that was doing the layoffs. If you remember the round before this. Now, from my understanding, this round of layoffs was in the works before the final shape was even going to come out. So they were looking to trim down anyways. I'm just going to say this. You can start to look back at the downfall of Bungie when their community managers, their upper leadership, and it started at the top with Pete Parsons, essentially alienated a good majority of their player base by calling in a certain language that didn't align with how a lot of their players actually are and how they actually probably operate in their day-to-day. When you do that to your player base and to your customer base, you're probably going to lose a lot. And put that in conjunction with the lack of content flow that they currently had going on at the time, that leads to a loss in sales and a loss in revenue. And it was that point, I think if you look back, others may disagree with me, depending on your stance, which is totally fine. But if you look back at Bungie and you look back at the beginning of the roller coaster starting to go downhill, it was that point in time when the community managers all went private. They were very outspoken until the community said, whoa, we're not going to stand for this. You're not going to, it may be one thing for you to have your opinions on some of the social issues, but don't lump us all into one group. And they did that, unfortunately. And it started at the top. And then I'm just going to say this in terms of the leadership, right? You may not like the guy. You may not like what he says. But I'm going to give a prime example of Reforged Gaming. That dude got banned. The developer banned from Bungie. And they will not give him an explanation of why he was banned. They won't go through and review his ban. And it was a developer ban. I have never, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never seen an organization do that unless they come forward and say, this is why we did this. So I think when you look at the leadership of Bungie as a whole, I hope Sony comes in and takes them over.
Yeah.
Because I think the only way that Bungie's going to turn around and get back to doing work, because they have excellent developers there. Probably the best shooting mechanics of any game I've ever played when it comes to being a shooter. You have to get that leadership out of there, because that seems to be the problem, and that's the consensus of former employees as well. And so I think we can talk about the stats. We just talked about how many cars James Bond wants to buy, whatever he wants to do. But at the end of the day, it starts at the top, and he is the one that needs to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel the way you do as far as him needing to go. I saw a lot of that on the Twitter timeline in the past 48 hours, welcoming the great Gaming Forte. Go ahead, Mr. Babbitt. Do you have something?
Yeah, I got like a similar take. I think like when it comes to like what Seeds was talking about, my issue with that is it's all performative, right? Like when you make these like these posts of like we're all together and we're gonna go on whatever type of social cause. At the end of the day, it's all BS to these people. It all comes down to their financials, their pocketbook.
That's right. What
looks good for them is what they're going to ultimately take. So, like, you could preach all you want about, like, how, for example, it's really great that that team helped raise, over $200,000 to Make-A-Wish the day prior. That's great and all. But when the CEO himself is too busy buying cars rather than protecting his staff, who's more interested in protecting his position, that really sucks.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it is, to me, the performative liberalism of that studio, of that leadership. And there's always been that disconnect, or sorry, I shouldn't say always. There seems to be that type of disconnect when, behind the scenes, when I've talked to a few folks who are maybe seemingly higher in their positions than, the foot soldiers on the ground.
Yeah.
There seems to be that type of like disconnect of,
Yeah, Mr.
not understanding the gravity of other people. So, like, to me, it's a failure towards Bungie's leadership.
Yeah.
Pete Parsons needs to go. How many times do you have to fail in order for you to change course?
Yeah.
Like, how many times are you going to blame your staff before you start blaming yourself in your direction? When it comes to, going to Nib's point here, Hiroki Totoki, he did outline it. He was the foreshadow, being so flippant of to say, on a call, hey, Bungie is not being run well during your financials. Telling your stockholders of whom you told them, hey, this $4 billion investment's going to work out, and now 2 years later you're airing out your regret. It's in the air. When I see senior people leave as well, that doesn't bode well of confidence. That doesn't tell me that PlayStation isn't taking over. In fact, quite the opposite. Because who are you going to replace those people of leadership with? Yeah. Probably folks from SIE. So to me, if we're all about shifting cost, SIE is looking at their investment with Bungie, and they are not happy with it. The leadership at the top has not been successful or good in the slightest. As for the last comment, I don't know who was permanently banned or whatever. They don't need to give you a reason as to why they ban you. No one. So like where I used to work, that would not be a thing. There's just a green list, yellow list, red list.
What took place in that particular person's circumstance and the entirety of that situation, 100% Bungie should have given a reason, because if you look into that situation, which I don't want to get too far into it, there's
and I don't know the situation.
Yeah, I wouldn't get deep
into
it.
The Bungie dev that banned him was
forward and said, "Hey, this is why we did this." I mean, that was a clear. There's even consulting behind it. I mean, you got attorneys from Bungie behind the scenes who work for Bungie who were doing private consulting for the relatives of people who work there with this guy's case. So 100% in this particular ban, the reason I brought it up is because that is how that company is running. You talk to some of the former employees from there, and the top of the organization, they preach, oh yeah, we're family. And I have a pretty good relationship with some of the guys that work at Bungie. You know, the last couple of expansions and stuff, I've been able to review and kind of get some early access stuff on. But when it comes to the top of their leadership and some of the toxic things that they do in there that only benefits them, dude, I hope they go, man. I hope people are good.
Well,
he is the problem.
I'll tell you this much. So, you know, and this is one of the interesting things. We've been saying this about acquired companies, right? And Nib, and by the way, guys, this is CrossFire. So just like Detective Seeds and Mr. Badbit, guys, if you want to chime in, just chime in and take the mic. But I do want to say, Nib, the one thing that I go to you for is I've owned and known many restaurant owners. I know that you are one of them as well. When you start your business, it doesn't matter what business it is, it's your baby, and a business never gets like beyond infancy, right? You always have to take care of it. You have to nurture it. You have to love the product. You have to love your customers,
100%.
right? So one of the things that I noticed, and I know that shout out to Steven Totillo who did this. He was saying that, you know, things like this were these bad things were happening probably even before, because Bungie was probably in worse shape even before they were acquired. But not worse shape, but going more, the ship was going down. But the point of the matter is, once teams are acquired and the money is all there, and then everything is paid for, and the lights are taken care of, and your vacation's taken care of, and all of a sudden now you don't have to buy your own lunch, you have lunch provided for you, you lose a little bit of that spark. And I think that when it comes down to it at the end of the day, a bit of that fire from whoever that CEO was of Bungie, he somewhere lost that fire. Go ahead, Singer. Do you know? Or go ahead, Nib. I apologize if you want to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I think that when you own a business, you have to have that fire in you every day when you wake up, and it's exhausting and it hurts. And you're like, I just did a 14-hour shift or a 16-hour shift. It depends, right? You're up and you're prepping, and then you got to clean and prep again at night. And but you have to love the customers. You have to love your product.
Yeah, it has to be literally an intrinsic part of your identity and life, right? Like you said, it's your baby. You know, you wouldn't, you know, fob off on looking after your child. So, but I get what you mean, because even, and I truthfully, I don't really care about what someone does with their personal wealth.
That's right.
The only reason I went into that is because it was the optics of it. This notion that, okay, we're really struggling with the financial situation. We need to get in the green. But then there's people on Twitter, ex-employees, calling him a liar and a cheat and saying he just wanted his big fat Sony payoff. So then I thought, okay, well, what's he doing with his funds? And I was kind of surprised, because when you do a little bit of digging and it's like, oh, hold on, this guy, what does he want to open a car dealership or something? So at the end of the day, look, fine, do whatever you want with your money. You're a multi-millionaire. We get that. But clearly, like, the balance of salaries and how the payout was structured was clearly very lopsided, right? Because if you can afford in just 2 years to spend 2.5 million on, that's just one website, by the way, one auction site. I don't know what else he spends his money on, but clearly, like, we could see why some of the employees are disgruntled, because they feel like the balance of whatever Sony paid hasn't been distributed properly, and there's, you know, morale issues and management issues or whatever. But I agree, maybe somewhere he has lost that spark, and it's more just a case of like being in it for the payout rather than for the product. However, the only thing I would say, like, to counter that, because we have to be fair at the end of the day and base it on the facts, or based on the productivity. I forgot what it's called, Lightfall, that actually released before the acquisition closed, and that was a big flop. But the last release, I forgot what it was called, the Final something.
Final Shape.
The Final Shape, that is actually one of the better products they've released in a long time, in actually like almost a decade or something.
It is the best thing they released in 10 years.
In 10 plus years, right?
Wow.
Even in terms of critical reception, I think the last game that it was like 2 decades ago almost that scored this highly. None of the previous Destiny games or DLCs have scored this highly. So and that's after being under Sony's umbrella. So yes, I understand there's all this stuff going on in the background, but maybe with the tightening of the screws, we can actually get better productivity and games out of them. So that is still a question mark. We can't say because all this stuff is happening and the CEO sounds like he's pretty, he's doing a pretty dire job, but maybe this fear or pressure from Sony will actually still ensure that they release better product. It just remains to be seen. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting thing, and especially with I saw another point Jason Schreier put out. He's saying, yes, they believe Sony's overpaid, but Bungie may have actually had to liquidate if they didn't sell to Sony. So and as much as there may be issues and stuff, I wouldn't want a gaming world without a Bungie. I love Bungie product.
Absolutely.
So I just. Hopefully they can string it together, and whatever these new games are will hit in the way that the final shape did.
What do you think, Singer? Singer, I know you had a comment about this, and I know you kind of feel strongly about the leadership there.
Yeah, as the point was brought up, it's like the guys buying all these cars, and Bungie has always been they've had a rough go of it. Even like Destiny 1 started out absolutely horrible. They got their shit together. They finished on a high, right? Then they released Destiny 2. Same kind of thing happened, and then, but they seem to just constantly be going up and down. Like, you look at Witch Queen, then you look at Lightfall, then you look at Final Shape. Like, 2 of those are good, 1 of those is terrible, and the one that's terrible is in between the 2 good ones. So clearly they have an issue, and if you need to get rid of Pete, right? I think they need new management. For a new direction. Now, I don't want to see Bungie go away because they're a very historic studio. We don't want to see them die. We've seen famous studios die. Shout out to BioWare.
Yeah, that's right.
Like world-class studios, but they're just a shell at this point, until proven otherwise. But they let go a whole bunch of key talent. Like, even the lead writer for the Final Shape, right? Super critically acclaimed. The lead writer, gone. How can just justify that?
Yeah.
Look at how good the work he did on the Final Shape. And you just get rid of him? When you want to retain talent like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I hear you. There's been some very suspect. That's why when I hear the decisions that have been going on while they've been autonomous, right? They've been in charge of their own future. That's why when people say, oh, maybe Sony's taking over, I'm like, well, maybe that's not all bad. I don't know. I'm asking the question, right? I mean, if they're going to come in, you say that these people have to be fired or have to be let go, Singer. Right. That would have to happen with Sony stepping in. I don't see him necessarily stepping down. Go ahead, Mr. Babbitt. What do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the ex-employees came out, Leanna Rupert, I believe, and she's like, this isn't on Sony's fault. This is on the fault of the leadership. And I would think that if they didn't have backing, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, whoever, if they didn't have that safety net, we would be having a much more dire conversation about, the death of Bungie, I fear. Right. After the failure of Lightfall and what seemingly is the low sales, but still rumor, so who knows, of, Final Shape. Yeah, there does need to be a major shakeup. And it sucks because I think when we were sold this vision, it was really colorful, man. You're like, oh, they're going to branch out. They're going to do some, self-publishing. They're going to do some transmedia. What does a show look like? What does a movie look like? And now you're just breaking down to, oh, crap, it looks like they are just being integrated into SIE. Now, is that terrible? No, not really, but it's not the Bungie that we know. Change is scary. I love Bungie so much. Like, Halo is one of the definitive games of my just gamer life. I have admiration for Destiny. So it does suck that it's taking this, this husk of what I once knew. Yeah. And now it has to prove itself once again as to, here it is. It is annoying with Bungie. It seems like it's always like, oh, we're so cooked. Oh, we're so back. Oh, we're so cooked. Oh, we're so back. It's the constant loop. But
it's a dizzy ride
Mooch,
with Bungie. Go ahead, Nib.
I'm sorry, enough of me.
I was just going to add one thing. So there was a couple of responses to my tweet about the Bungie situation. They were like, oh, Liana, she could just be a disgruntled employee. And 100%. 100% that happens, right? You can be very angry because you got laid off. But I haven't made a tweet about it, but I was going to. I was putting it together. So I was actually looking at some of the reviews on Glassdoor to see what other employees have said about Bungie. And do you know what? I haven't found in a single review of the company a negative point about Sony itself. All of it is centered around Bungie leadership. And do you know what? On Glassdoor, Pete Parsons, his approval rating, CEO approval rating, is 37%, which is quite low. Yeah, which is quite low. So clearly, but yeah, the other thing I was just for the audience is like, we were talking earlier about what the interim CEO said about Bungie. I thought I'll just read the quote and then leave it, so just then at least people have context as to what he said, because it does seem, based on what he said, maybe some of these things have come into play. So he wrote, I visited the Bungie studios and had meetings with the management. I saw that the employees working at the studios were highly motivated, showing great creativity as well as impressive knowledge of live services. However, I also felt there was room for improvement, especially from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines. I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions for them.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that something?
So Forte, listen, you've heard what everyone's saying. Forte's our resident Destiny player. Forte, let me just read this to you. So shout out to the great Ocelot first. He says, Bungie would have closed doors without Sony buying them. The more and more information that keeps leaking out, Ocelot, I believe that more and more every day that passes. But here's the question, Forte, here's the question from Rude Days 93. He says, so do you guys have faith in Sony? Faith that Sony could turn Bungie around? A major reason they were brought in was to help with live service initiatives. So now we're saying Sony needs to save them. It's a good question. They were brought in, and just real quick, Rude Days, I don't think because of a couple of bad apples that all of a sudden we can't say Bungie doesn't know what they're doing with live services. I mean, they have had a game, and what other game has survived this successfully, if you will? And we just praised the Final Shape from 2014 to 2024. I mean, let's not discredit their resume of the entire. That's an amazing developing team over there. But Forte, what do you think when you hear that? Is it that Sony can walk in and save them? I don't think they need saving as far as talent. I think what Nib just read really is the information we all need to hear, is that there's tremendous potential there in marketing and using in different ways to use their tools to help maybe Sony grow, PlayStation grow. What do you think, Forte?
It's very hard. I mean, it's so hard to have this conversation, to even talk about this, being a person that's been there since the alpha all the way pretty much through year 10.
That's right.
But the perception of what the game is now versus even what the game was in 2020 is vastly different now. I always told people, look, don't be surprised for the things that you're asking for. And I always knew people celebrated Bungie when they wanted to break away from Activision. They like the whole community did. They said, okay, Bungie's going to go independent.
Yep.
We need to support Bungie.
That's right.
And I was one of those few people that was like, man, y'all don't understand how much help Bungie had from Activision when it came to all those ancillary studios, helping them build these amazing DLCs that they had. I was like,
that's a good point.
And the only reason they split, it wasn't because of a bad blood between the two companies. It was the fact that Activision was holding them to a timeline that Bungie consistently couldn't live up to. So they felt like they needed to split to have their own vision on what the game needed to be going forward, because we would be in Destiny 3 right now if it was under the timeline of Activision. They had them under, 2 years of expansions, then a major release, which was Destiny 2. That was in 2019. That was like 2017. So by now we would already be in Destiny 3 if it was under Activision. And then, like, you hear the CEO talk about it. He talked when they did their visit to Bungie, where they talked to him, he said their timeline and budgeting restraints are horrendous.
Yeah.
It's been like that forever. And when you even go and look at the statement that Pete Parsons put out on the website, where he talked about, breaking up the team, breaking up the, having these other games that they wanted to, like, kind of see, their seed games that they wanted to put into development, and having tier pieces of their leadership put at the head of those things. Those people came from the one game that was making money from them. And so why are we a studio? And this is why I think, because I don't think Pete Parson is like the horrible person that a lot of people say he is. I do think he is very, very, he doesn't have a clue when it comes to like talking to people about, hey, come look at my brand new cars I have, and then you're laying people off. I don't know if he knew the people, like, all the people that I saw talking about, the one girl that said you lied and had the statement about showing off the car and everything. He probably didn't even know that girl was one of the people getting laid off. It probably just came across the desk. He signed it. Come to find out she was one of those people. But just the fact that you're laying people off, you shouldn't be talking about the stuff that you have. That's just not a good look. I'll never knock anybody for having the money that they have because they worked hard to get there.
That's right. What they do with their money, I do firmly believe that. What they do with their money, that's what they do with their money.
What you do with the money. Now, how humane you are about talking about that stuff when you're in the dire straits that the company is two different things.
That's correct.
But the biggest thing that really, really irked me about this whole scenario is the fact that this game has struggled mightily ever since 2019. It's been barely afloat. It's been a situation where DLC numbers have been going down. Final Shape Final Shape has done well, but it didn't sell as well as even as Lightfall did. And people that are part of that community already knew this was going to be the case. Now, Bungie, even in his statement, he even talked about the downturn of the industry in 2023 because they were hit like real hard, just like everybody else was hit when it came to less spending in video games and everything like that. And they took a hard bet that was going to continue when they ballooned the company from like 900 people to over 1,350 people over the course of that 3 years. So, of course, we knew that it was going to be a setback when it came to revenue being spent and everything, but they decided to keep splitting off the company into all these other seeded games. And I'm like, who's making these games? And how are you going to fund 4 games, 3 other games, when the game that you supposedly cares the most about isn't making the money it was making before because the player base is falling off, not because the game's not good. People like me fell off the game because, dude, it's been 10 years.
It's 10 years.
It's time to move on to something else, and that's why the numbers are the way they are now. Like the numbers were great at the start of Final Shape. Now they're down into the 60,000s of concurrent users, especially on Steam, due to the fact that everybody was like, "Okay, my 10-year journey's over."
Yeah,
and that was known to happen. But I just want to see what's going to happen going forward because I think Sony needs to just take the good things from Bungie because the Bungie that we've always known, that hasn't been that Bungie in a long, long time. Destiny is one of the best. I tell people it's the best game when it comes to shooting mechanics out there. It's nothing better than that, but there has to be a huge shakeup at that from the top when it comes to everything happening at that company. And who knows what's going to happen with the developers and everything going forward. They're already splitting them off into different entities inside of SIE, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I think so.
What's going to happen? But like Pete Parsons said at his thing, they're narrowing their focus down to strictly Marathon and Destiny.
That's right.
So what's that going to? So Destiny is almost at its end of life. So Marathon's what they're really banking on at this point.
I'm going to interject here when it comes to these Pete Parsons statements and almost not laying it at the feet of the student. We're talking about a dude who led from the top the cover up of some of the harassment that went on at his studio. We're talking about a dude who promoted the family environment on one day and then is laying people off the next day. Now that's what a CEO does. I do not and will not ever defend any CEO. Well, we're also talking about a dude who led from the top of alienating a large portion of their player base by getting into his social justice warrior stuff that he wanted to get into. Instead of focusing on the studios and his growth of being held accountable, that's one thing that I don't think Pete Parsons likes. I don't think he likes being held accountable. That's the bottom line of my take on this entire situation when it comes to Bungie. He didn't like being held accountable by Microsoft. He didn't like being held accountable by Activision. Well, now he's in a situation, and someone please in the comments or on here, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sony has a clause when they bought him that does hold him accountable that if you don't hit these timelines, we will take you over. No one else has done that with them. So I think that we have reached a pinnacle point when it comes to Pete Parsons. And I understand that the CEO can't see over everything, but we have enough that has come out from former employees who have said, hey, this goes to the top. Like, we don't do any of these things unless it comes from the top. So when you have enough people who are streaming about this, there's probably smoke, the side of fire where there's smoke. And in this particular case, when it comes to Sony having that clause in there, I think that Pete Parsons has gotten to a point to where he's finally going to be held accountable to the timelines, and they are not able to do it. And because they're not able to do it, the only outline and the only logical thing that he has to do is to lay people off. And then what happens? Sony says, okay, you're laying off whatever it was, 200 and some people. We are going to absorb that talent. There's a reason that they're absorbing that talent is because they want to try to make some of these other games. And let's be honest, the Bungie devs and the Bungie audio team, their team that developed the shooting mechanics and the lore and all that stuff, those things fucking kill it.
Seeds, you made some great points there. You really do. Seeds, just so everybody knows, some people are asking in the chat. Seeds' power went out at home. Seeds is calling in on his phone. Seeds, I don't know if you Seeds, it's fine. If you can get closer to your mic, or maybe are you using a headset, or are you just talking on speakerphone?
Yeah, I'm using my headset. Can you hear me now?
Now
a lot better.
Better. Before it sounded like you were talking to us through a tin can from like 8 states away. All right, so hold on a second. That's all right.
The one thing I will say about this, like I don't disagree with you with Pete, because Pete is the top of the company and he should answer for all of this stuff. This hasn't been like an overnight thing. This has been, like I said, they made a bet in 2019 that they could do this on their own. That was partly his decision as the top of the board to make that decision. And then all the things you talked about leading up to the point of 2024 is definitely still on his watch. All that, everything, all the inclusion stuff, all that stuff, that all falls under him, and he can't run away and hide from that. But I've always been of the notion to say, ever since Jason Jones stepped down at that company for being at the top of it and stopped down to creative director and operator of the company, and he doesn't even really do that anymore at the company. He's basically just a name at Bungie now. Ever since he left, he was like the steward of everything Bungie.
I agree.
Through the Microsoft years, through the early Activision years, he was the one that kept that company gaming focus first when it came to like the overall aura of what a Bungie game was. Once he stepped away and stepped down, and Pete Parsons came 100% control of the company when it came to CEO positions, that's when I started seeing like that kind of fire and lifeblood of Bungie like kind of drain. It was still there. It just started fading away little by little, year over year. And to the point where you don't even, like, if you ask anybody who the hell Jason Jones is, they wouldn't even know off the street.
Yeah, very, very important person in the organization when they were going through probably one of the best times in Bungie. And I am so passionate when it comes to Bungie because I have thousands and thousands of hours in the first game, the second game. I played while I was on, deployments, and I just have a love for the studio. And to see it get to this point is incredibly frustrating because it didn't have to happen. Seeds,
I agree with your last statement there. This did not have to happen. I do want to say this much. The Final Shape came out when, Forte?
June 12th.
Okay, so listen, that got critical acclaim. Okay,
it was awesome.
We're talking about Bungie like they've been decimated and having the talent's still there. So by Sony going in and doing the evaluation that Nib was reading about, and these are steps right now before they go on life support, before it gets worse, that they can go in there and salvage this company, because it is an amazing team out there. And I want to hear TC, let's get you in here. I'm going to read this question to you, TC. Shout out to Ocelot again. The super chat's working. It's a miracle. And thanks again to Mash, 20 gifted subs. Mash, I just can't say thank you enough. Guys, the great Mash is here. Ocelot asks TC, he says, I have 1,258 hours in Destiny 2. Been playing less and less every year. He says we need a D3 or, in quotes, next Destiny. Jeff Grubb talked about this on his show. He has a lot of info. Shout out to the great Jeff Grubb, by the way. So, TC, my question to you is this, and I was listening to Seeds, I'm listening to Forte, and I'm wondering, at the end of the day, TC, does a Destiny 3 save a Bungie, or do they really need to put Destiny down and move forward onto a new IP? It could be a live service game. It could be very similar. It still could be sci-fi. Or do they need to do Destiny 3? Because if they do Destiny 3 and they revamp it the right way, maybe they can bring a new install base into that fantastic world that they've created.
So for me personally, I'm not the biggest Destiny fan, so I would love for them to create a completely new IP. But if you've seen, like, I've worked with coworkers like who are like in their 50s, and you know they have their Tuesday night Destiny 2 like situation. Yeah, so Destiny has this like cult of people. I don't want to say cult, like this group of people.
No, that's what it is.
This group of people that really love the game. So if you bring a Destiny 3, you have the potential of bringing those people over to Destiny 3, and also people who were fans of Destiny before will be like, oh, Destiny 3, let me check it out. They get another chance. And people who weren't really big fans of Destiny, they'll be curious too to see what is a Destiny 3? What can it bring that I didn't really care about before? Is PvP going to be better? Probably not, but I don't know. So that in itself is, I don't know if PvP is better now. I remember it wasn't really good. Not the gunplay was great, but I remember PvP wasn't really good in Destiny 2 because I was trying to get into that as a Halo fan. So Destiny 3, that's a big way to kind of just make more money because of that. With a new IP, you have the potential of risking alienating the whole Destiny community because they might not be into Marathon. Right. That's why if they are working on a Destiny 3 and the Marathon, or I recently heard Destiny 3 is on shelved. I'm not sure I think that was a rumor. I'm not really sure. But that's why it would make sense for them to focus on Destiny 3 and a new IP to basically work on what they've already done.
Yeah.
Because they already have the tools. They already have the basics of Destiny. And then bring over the people who like Destiny, who do still play Destiny, people who were interested in Destiny, bring up a new audience towards Destiny to bring them in a new way. And Marathon will increase that and bring a new group of people. Hopefully Marathon's a smaller project, so it doesn't consume Destiny's workload. Like the problem there is if they try to do 2 live services, whichever one's more popular is the one that's going to live. The other one's going to slowly die or be on, like slow life support. Yeah, you guys can go play on there, but
Well, part of the reason that's why a lot of us fans of Destiny feel like it started to struggle because you talked about PvP and everything, because that's kind of, you had your rituals. You would go in, do all your raids, your strikes, your, just ancillary content that you would do day to day. And then once you got through doing that stuff for like 2-3 weeks, you would want to like kind of retire and go to the Crucible. And that's how I was. But then, once they moved so much of the creative team from Destiny's PvP over to Marathon, because that's where all of the brain power or the think
if PvP is gonna be like classic Bungie with Marathon, then I'll be there day one.
Well, yeah, that's where all the Bungie PvP people went,
Forte.
And that's why Bungie's PvP fell into the ground with Destiny, because they all went to Marathon.
Forte,
but
Forte. A question from the chat. I know, guys. I understand, by the way, because I know a lot of people in the chat are going to start saying I understand there's no Destiny 3 currently in development.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, but hypothetically, someone in the chat said, Destiny 2. Shout out to Josh Ayers. He says Destiny 2 is currently free to play. Would Destiny 3 be free to play? What do you think? I think absolutely not.
I wouldn't know why it wouldn't be.
I don't know why.
The real thing is the real big factor of it is the expansion. They do the expansions. People come back. The uptake. People do the expansion.
Good point,
and then wait for the next expansion.
Yeah, I think that if they did do that, there's no reason to go to a paid version of the game. You just pay for expansions and you pay for like dungeon keys and stuff like that. They make
and these expansions are pricey.
Yeah, I mean, they charge you $40 per expansion. It did, because if you think about the price of the game is the base game by itself is $100 if you get all the expansions. You're talking about 2 expansions or 1 expansion in all seasons, and the seasons are what, $15 each. So it's a very expensive game. I mean, if you kind of look at the price of the game over the course of 10 years, we spent some money on it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like free to play for the next one. But when it comes to a Destiny 3, my only thing with that is, just like we talked about this with Gears. Gears got ran into the ground because Microsoft kept putting that game in front of everybody every 2 years or 3 years. Bungie literally just completed 10 years, a 10-year campaign to this game. Mm-hmm. This game needs to go away.
Yeah, I think it was enough of that.
As much as I would listen, I had this conversation with the raid group. We all talked about it. We talked about all this stuff. It's like, what are we going to do after the raid? Because that was the goal. Because this is why the numbers for Destiny is going down, and this is why you see so many people kind of turning it off. Because the raid for Final Shape was the end of your 10-year cycle. Everything you're doing now is stuff that is just kind of new stuff that has nothing to do with the raid or anything that happened over the 10 years. It's just new content that they're building up. This thing called Frontiers that we don't even know what it is yet, but that's like the next thing that they're doing in Destiny. So people are falling off because I served my bid. My 10 years is over. It's time to move on to something else. And for me, them just slapping a Destiny 3 on something and bringing it out within the next 2 years, as much as I would enjoy and probably want to see what that's like, that was
I think they would have to do something substantial.
That was symbol more of a cash grab for me, because I feel like for them to make Destiny what I want it to be, it needs way more than a year to 2 years. Just like I felt about Halo Infinite. When we first saw Halo Infinite, I felt like this is going to need more than 1 year. I think it's going to need 2, at least 2, maybe 3. And we see where the game is now. The game is in a way better place 2 years later, because that's the time that they should have gave to the game at first when they first launched it, instead of launching it, back in 2021. But when it comes to Bungie, I feel like this game needs to disappear for 4 or 5 years. Let's see what Marathon can do, because they banked a lot of their future success. All of these numbers that they proclaimed to Sony about what revenue was going to be generating and stuff was mostly due to what Marathon's going to do in the future. But the thing about Marathon is it's unproven. Nobody knows what it's going to be, versus Bungie and Destiny. We know what it could be, but you're talking about something that's 10 years old at this point.
That's right.
And everybody wants to move on.
I think that's very true.
I think with Destiny 3, it would have to be something substantial. That's what I was inferring to. But at the same time, you might be one of the people that is done with Destiny.
Well, there's a lot of people that's probably not done with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's people that also come into it 5 years into it. 4 years. Yeah. People that probably just came in 3 years ago, and they're like, "Oh, I love this. I could go in for some more," and that would also be a new group of people with a Destiny 3. But I wasn't.
It would be good for the people that like to get it on day one and not be left behind, because when you put a 3 and when you put a new number on something, that means
it has to be. Yeah, it has to be something substantial. It
has to be something brand new beginning. So it feels like, let me get in now because that's what these games prey on you on when it comes to these cyber service games. It's like, I need to get in now before I am left behind.
That's right.
I will say, I know it's been going on for 10 years, but fine. You want them to work on Marathon. I think that is what they're doing anyway.
That's right.
I will say I want something else, but go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, me personally, I think I would be interested in Destiny 3, just because one of the things with these kind of live service titles is they hang on to old technology for too long, in my opinion, because they're essentially iterative versions of something that came out a long time ago. And I would love to see a Destiny with current gen only, maximize the use of the SSD, full technology, full bells and whistles, to just see what they could do. Because you could do some absolutely astonishing, grandiose stuff. And with the speed of these drives as well, like in terms of teleportation, intertwined into combat, and all these other crazy things. Like you could theoretically just instantly travel from one dimension or one planet and one source to another in the middle of
Destiny
combat.
Was originally on, was it Was it on PS3?
It was on PS3.
No.
Wow.
No. Wait, you
all
said
the way
Destiny?
up to Rise of Iron.
Right, it's fine. Yeah, so that's what I mean. So in that regard, like, even if it is more Destiny, and I get it, like, give Destiny a break, but I do think a next gen version of Destiny could still be something that really grabs the attention of consumers and gamers alike.
Well, that's it. They have to push. They have to push the envelope. Forte, Destiny 2 just did not move the envelope. I thought technologically. No, they have to take that big push. And I did like what you said, Forte. Put this game aside for 4 years, 5 years. They have put their money. And guys, I know a lot of people on the panel and the chat don't like to hear this, but they are they put their money, and now they got to put their mouth where their money is, right, in the marathon, and do marathon to the best of your abilities. And a lot of people, I saw, shout out real quick to Captain Chats here. I'm just going to read this for you guys. I thought it was interesting. He goes, where did he put it? I'm just looking real quick. He said something. Oh, here it is. Marathon is just going to be another shooter with a season pass and microtransactions. I can't see this thing hitting well. And Captain, I'm not saying you're wrong by no stretch of the imagination, but I mean, people thought Extraction was going to work with Helldivers 2. It's not necessary. I say this to you guys all the time. It's not who was there first. It's who does it best. And I think at the end of the day, if you have the talent, as long as they keep their creative juices kind of flowing and they have new content and they make things, they have their own version of Extraction and how they're going to do it, then that's great. If they come out with an Extraction and it looks and feels like the finals, like, yeah, it's not going to, it's really, then Captain Chats has got a point. I think that's what it comes down to. Now, do you guys have any?
Was that a dig at the finals?
It was a dig. I'm sorry, TC. I forgot you're a finals.
Yeah, how you gonna dig at the finals, bro? The multiplayer is phenomenal. What are you talking about? It's one of the best multiplayer of recent years.
I guess I get
no, it's nowhere near the best multiplayer recent years.
For me personally,
for you personally, I was gonna say.
Yeah, obviously, all I can speak is for myself. Because the thing about it is, the gameplay in that game is refreshing compared to everything else. I got tired of all these other multiplayer games, and I do enjoy them.
I don't blame you. And TC, no, listen, my only knock on that is just like it was what kind of what Forte was saying. I don't see the audience. And TC, you've been on this show where you spoke quite highly of the finals. I got to tell you, it's just for me personally. I thought it was going to actually have a larger install base. I thought there would be more people playing it. I thought there would be more buzz. I haven't really seen a lot of buzz about it. I don't ever see clips of it. I don't see any discussion. I don't see people streaming it a lot on Twitch. Doesn't mean not zero, but the numbers just really aren't there. Now, again, if you're going to say it's a success and it's fun, that's great. But I wonder now, will Marathon get that same kind of, will Marathon get that same kind of love, or will they get that same kind of hate? Depending on how you look at the audience that participates with the game.
So the finals does have, even though it's not, I don't really focus on that. If the game is fun, I'm there. If I can get into multiplayer, I'm the type of guy that's still playing Factions 1, a PS3 online multiplayer to this day. I'm actually playing. I've been playing it throughout this entire stream. And for me,
TC, you're breaking the rules. Go ahead. No, I'm kidding.
If the game is good, that's what I'm gonna play. And if people are on there, I'll be on there. I don't care if people are streaming it or not, or
I understand,
or any of that. And the finals, they have updates every week. Sometimes small, sometimes bigger. They have their seasons on a decent pace, and I've never had to wait a while to get into a match. So that's what I care about.
So this is what when someone says that a game is amazing, that's great to them, that a lot of other people don't.
Oh, I can only speak for myself, obviously.
I know that, and I'm happy because I do the same thing with Battlefield, because I'm a huge Battlefield. I think
2042.
Yeah, I love Battlefield. 2042 is amazing.
Oh wow,
I love it. 4 is still better. 4 is still.
I wanted to love 2042. I've tried, man. I've tried.
2042. I love 2042. I have way too many hours in it, but I'm just like you are when it comes to what's the name. But I'll ask you this. What is it about the finals? Because I played it and I liked it at first and then I fell off of it. Why do you think it doesn't jive with most people? That, like how you love it? What is just your opinion of why it probably doesn't jive with a lot of people?
So at the beginning, one of the modes that they have, Quick Cash and these other type of modes, they're really focused on, getting the money and then depositing the money or getting the most money and stuff like that. A lot of people, what they enjoy doing is just like slaughter. A lot of the things that I wanted to do at the beginning of the game was just, can I get a TDM? But they wouldn't do it the same way the people over at Rainbow Six Siege are stubborn with doing a TDM. They won't do a TDM because that's not their core thing. But the gameplay of that game was so addicting to me personally. But I can get how it can be annoying when you're in a game, you're with your 3 people, you have 2 people who are crap, and then there's like, because it's 3v3, v3, v3, 4 teams, or 3 teams depending on the mode, and you're going in there. I can see how that could be annoying for some people, and they're like, I can't get into that. But they added a mode earlier this year called Power Shift. It's 5v5, and I harassed that mode so damn much. I don't touch any of the other modes. It's literally 5v5. You guys, it's basically like moving King of the Hill. And you're on a platform, you're moving throughout the map, everywhere. This platform, the thing I love about the finals is the amount of destruction. This platform goes through buildings, destroying buildings, topping them, going through places. You're up high, and it's going to be hard for people to come get you. You go down low, it's a slaughter fest. People are coming in, respawning, they're destroying you. That 5v5 mode is what is going to be the itch for people who want that type of TDM style. But the problem is, they added that mode way too late. A lot of the people who played it at the beginning already left.
They left, yeah.
So
that's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask you, and the way I'm going to answer that to you, tell you about that is just like every other game, is the fact that, and I agree with you, because everybody wants to just slaughter each other, and the fact that they didn't want to add that was why people left and never came back. And if you don't give people what they want up front, and they already don't feel it, they ain't coming back. And this is like deprecating to one of my favorite games, Destiny. Destiny 1, when it came out, everybody had a perceived notion of what Destiny was going to be. Because it's made by Bungie, it's made by the Halo developers. They saw this whole space opera thing, and they come to find out you got the Cosmodrome, you got the moon. Those are the only 2 places you going, and the game seems stale to a lot of people. They sold 18 million copies of that game in the first month that it was out. And guess what? They never got close to that player count ever again after that. Even after the game got vastly better. We're talking about Rise of Iron and all of the Taking King. The game never got to those heights ever because people was like, it's not there for me at the beginning. Why am I going to go back now and try to play it now? And that's where these
PvP was fire. I'll still be on that. If PvP was fire, I'll be on that.
So it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because like you're saying with finals, like this is what people want to do. They just want to kill each other, which is basically me in a nutshell. That's what I want to do in these kind of games.
Exactly. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, because I played finals and I'll be honest, I didn't love it. But
play Power if you have the time.
Okay. And then Halo. I remember even Halo Infinite. They had this thing where there's a docu-series where they were like, oh, we're going to do these like challenge-based progression, right? And the whole community was like, nah, that's shit.
No, they ain't good about that.
Yeah, they were like, just give us regular experience. Like the more you play and the more you kill. And it's
better
like
now.
But everyone at the time was really negative about it. And it's like, you'd think from the feedback, okay, fine, let's reverse this. And no, they still...
They doubled down.
They took all the flack and then they changed it. And it's like, why are these companies doing that? If you know this is what the players want, why are you overriding that? You know, and then trying to, I don't know. It's a strange thing. If anybody
in the chat had the finals on your bingo card for tonight's Crossfire, you win a.
Hey Mooch, you know what's funny about the finals? I played it. Like
really, Singer.
The Discord played it when it first came out, and you know it was a fun time. But everyone fell off, and only one person plays it now out of everyone.
Singer, I gotta say this on the air. Your Discord sounds like going to Disney World. If I'm not a part of it, I gotta get in there.
The thing is, it's hilarious because everyone, you know, it's literally a competition. Everyone's egos are too big. Everyone just fights constantly in video games. You know what it is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But the thing is, what I found with the finals was that battle pass is not appealing. Those skins are absolutely horrible. Thing is,
it's gotten better. I know what you're talking about.
It's still. I looked at the latest battle pass because it was linked to
me. Skin? No, they're sick, man.
The thing is, I'm spoiled because I have Fortnite, right? I've been playing Fortnite for so long, and the battle pass is just absolutely insane. The skins all most of the time look really, really good, but then it's like the main multiplayer now is Valorant, right? Because if you know, I enjoy the skill aspect of it. And that's not to say, like, other games like X Defiant and all that came out in skill, but, I mean, being able to, you know, you only have one life, so you need to make your life count.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
it's,
let me
I prefer
X
that.
Defiant, I
people
can't get
actually-
into that.
Is people actually playing X Defiant because of
Yeah, I
how
was
good the
gonna
game
say.
it is, or because of the skins that keep popping up?
It's probably the skins, and it also offers it offers a TDM, which is one of the things I think that, and I know we're not going to.
That's
this is
true.
not gonna,
It does offer a TDM.
This is not going to turn into a Concord discussion, but Concord has their versions of different types of hero shooter type of things, and then they also have their traditionals. They have your TDM or something like a domination with a slight twist to it. So look, I do want to do this. I do want to move on to another subject here. Outstanding on the Bungie topic by everybody in the panel. Mr. Badbit is due back, and when Mr. Badbit comes back, we're going to be discussing Star Wars. He played 4 hours of Star Wars, I believe, or a chunk of Star Wars Outlaws. You guys got to hear this. But
Did
Nib,
he go to a demo event?
I believe he did, but I don't want to speak for him. I'll let him speak. He did not tell me that, so I'm going to let him have the spotlight. But it'll be great to hear him.
If he did the same thing I did, we played over.
Seeds,
Seeds,
we can't hear you.
Womp, 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 womp.
Seeds, you sound like you're talking through a pillow.
No, he sounds like the teacher from Charlie Brown right now.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, while Seeds is doing so, Nib, I have your tweet here, which is like a term paper. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to let you discuss it, but I do want to know as we kind of shift over. The topic here is Microsoft CFO wants to turn Xbox into a subscription business. In quotes, encouraged by some progress on Game Pass, end quote. I want to get everyone's thoughts. But first, shout out to the great Zuby Tech for the information here. Microsoft Xbox hardware fiscal year 24, quarter 1, July through September, -7. Quarter 2, again, this is the hardware only. Quarter 2, Nib will get into the hardware and how it dissects into Activision's role as well. Quarter 2, +3%. Quarter 3, January to March, -31. And now quarter 4, April to June, -42% on hardware. And the reason I want to talk about that, and I want Nib to go next, but I do want Singer's point as well, is Singer's going to kind of talk about what he thinks the next generation Xbox might be to make it successful. But Nib, those are the hardware that alone. That doesn't include the gaming revenue, profit, this and that, and other situations. Yeah. So Nib, you really went to town on your analysis of it, and then you also were at battle for about 24 hours straight on Twitter. So Nib, what do you think when you see
this? It's hilarious. Yeah, you know what? I will just say this, I don't want to, I know it sounds theatrical or whatever, but basically Xbox hardware, console hardware has tanked. Let's be real, because the thing you have to remember, this isn't a -42% hardware drop on a previous plus, like with PlayStation, right? I believe this next quarter they'll probably have a hardware decline, but it will be off the back of a really high hardware positive, right? So it'll be like plus something really high, and then now they're going to have a slight decline. Xbox is heavy decline on top of heavy decline on top of heavy decline. So, these numbers are real low. I think the estimation is between 700 and 800,000 series units was shipped. To put it into context, while we don't have this quarter's results for PlayStation yet, this same Xbox quarter last year for PlayStation, they sold over 4 million PS5 units. So more than 4 times. I can't remember I think it was 3 point something million. But yeah, the point is, I think Xbox console hardware has collapsed, which is why they're doing more and more diversions into sort of other categories. But I did want to just read out 2 quotes from the business from the results meeting press conference afterwards. Yes. So Satya Nadella, he said, for us, our investment in gaming fundamentally was to have, I'd say, the right portfolio of both what we loved about gaming and have always loved about gaming, which is Xbox and the content for the console, but expand it from there so that we have content for everywhere people play games. Amy Hood added, I do think the real goal here is to be able to take a broad set of content to more users in more places and really build what looks more like to us a software annuity and subscription business with enhanced transactions and ownership of IP. So it's really quite interesting wording, because what looks more like a software annuity and subscription business. So it's kind of like they're saying the console side of things is the backbone.
Did we lose Nib? Or did I just lose him?
No, I think we lost him.
Nib, you're back. We lost you for a second.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me again?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I was just going to say, so basically she's saying they see themselves in future becoming a software annuity and subscription business, right? It's very interesting wording because it's not platform, it's not console platform. Sony executives literally just 2 months ago were reiterating the fact that PlayStation console is their priority first and foremost. And then you have Xbox executives saying they want to see themselves in future build into a software annuity and subscription services. Now, some could argue they are that already, but previously they've been a console platform centric, so they are really leaving that behind. So yeah, I do think again this kind of wording opens up the potential for them to essentially be more like a publisher in the future. And we've talked about it in the past. Essentially, I can foresee more and more titles going to other platforms and less focus on the console, which, based on the data that we've just described about the hardware declines, being so severe, you can see why they're pivoting in that direction. And it is also interesting looking at their quarterly results. Microsoft themselves is giving a separation of results between ABK and Xbox, so they're giving combined results and they're giving ABK results separately.
Yes,
because they understand that the context is important. Investors and people want to know how much is ABK, what is ABK contributing. And one of the things that I was quite surprised about is without ABK, the results look pretty dire. So there's actually more total revenue decline when ABK is not including. With ABK, obviously there's a bonus, which it would be. But the point of it that was interesting to me, I understand that after an acquisition, there is always carryover costs, integration and accounting and things like that. There usually is a small period of amortization and other costs. We're not talking about the cost of the acquisition. That was paid in cash in total. Their statement already says they paid for that fully in cash. We're talking about post-acquisition costs, right? Usually, I think with Bungie, there was like 1 quarter of amortization costs. But what you notice with the ABK results is 3 quarters in a row, ABK has actually lost a lot of money. So they went from the previous fiscal year of non-Microsoft ownership, making 3.3 billion in profit, right? 3.3 billion profit off of 8.8 billion in revenue. And now they're so far in 3 quarters, not 4 years in a quarter. For 3 quarters alone under Microsoft, they've so far posted 1.4 billion in losses.
Yep.
Now, I appreciate people will say, "Oh, it's acquisition related," but eventually, like, when is that going to turn around? And when it does turn around, how long will it take them to recoup this amount? And will they ever make those kind of profits again? Or how long will it take them to make the kind of profit that they were making before? So those are really interesting things that I want to see going forward. But essentially, Activision for this year will have led to probably around 2 billion additional loss for Xbox, which is pretty drastic, really.
So when you hear those numbers, Death Singer, because we were talking, this is something you've been podcasting about for years, just as we all have been. I mean, Activision's still not doing even well under the Microsoft umbrella. You're seeing things like, we saw what happened with Tango Gameworks, smaller companies just being closed, things not selling, delayed games, another very dry year. We'll get into the Avowed stuff in a minute here, but Singer, with these numbers just continuously going down, now do you ever question, Singer, the whole play Xbox everywhere, anywhere with whoever, and that long slogan that keeps going on and on? I don't know if people are
slogan.
It just keeps going on and on and on. But what do you think, Singer? Do you think is there a problem here? I mean, how many times can they pivot? It seems like this isn't good, and I know that you have a remedy with the next hardware that you think Xbox will produce, but I think even that one may be a bit too late in the market right now.
Well, we knew this was going to happen. The writing was on the wall for ages, right? The hardware was constantly declining, and you could see the way Microsoft moving as a company, and I firmly believe this is Microsoft taking over Xbox now. This is no longer Xbox's choice in the matter. I think they were given enough lee room, and now they're kind of like, look, this is the way it's going to be. Microsoft Office is everywhere. 365 is now everywhere. It's even on, who would have ever thought that Microsoft products would end up on an Apple? But here we are.
Right.
So they want to go everywhere. Satya wants to go everywhere. That's their direction everywhere. So it makes sense for Xbox to go where? Everywhere.
Everywhere, right.
Because it wants to make the most amount of money. And that's the direction they will be going in. Nothing can stop it. And the hardware will just continue to decline. And then eventually they'll just get rid of hardware altogether. Which is the ultimate plan. So.
You know, Mooch, one funny thing, you know the quotes I read out from
Yes.
Amy and from Satya Nadella? Here's the funny thing about those quotes. They were actually asked the question by an investor, by one of the top investors. And do you know how exceedingly rare it is for an investor to ask about Xbox? I can't even remember the last time they were asked about Xbox. But because they made this big ABK huge investment, yeah, now even the investor like, yo, what's going on with Xbox? You know, because like, you know, you spent,
I be trying to tell people, don't.
Yeah,
you ask for something, man. Like I remember doing DPS with slow mo. I was like, man, people don't realize once the ink's dry on this contract and they buy Activision, a whole nother level of scrutiny is about to happen. Because now you're talking about the big boys at the Microsoft table. Like, wait a minute. Not only does this company, this portion of the company that did the least amount of revenue is now doing, because, you know, we saw the numbers. They are doing the third most revenue because of what Activision is bringing in. So now they're going to be looking at like, okay, so what are we doing with this behemoth that we just brought in? Now, when it comes to like the declining in sales, it's terrible that it is, but it's only because Microsoft keeps telling people they don't have to buy a console. If they stop telling people that, they might forget that, you know, you don't have to buy a console. But the thing that's going to interest me the most, and this is, I will say this month and next month, or this quarter, I should say, will be the quarter it's going to tell me if hardware is truly dead with Xbox. Because we just saw a game, NCAA football, that just released where it's next gen only. 2.2 million people bought that game in early access for $100. 666,000 people played it in EA Play. So almost 3 million people played that game, and you have to be next gen to do it. It's no PC copy of it, so this is all console driven. People were buying consoles left and right and upgrading everywhere for this game. It would be if I don't see, I don't know if they'll go positive, but if I don't see something like at the least negative 5% year over year over the quarter at the end of this quarter, because they're going to have a bunch of stuff that comes out this quarter that's next gen only. Like Star Wars is next gen only. A whole bunch of games are next gen only. You can't play them on previous gen hardware. So we're going to see how much the casual base was really truly holding back next gen. Now we know PlayStation is doing well no matter what. It was mostly what's going on with the Xbox side of it. So I'm really interested to see what next quarter is. But this was a really, really good viewpoint into like just business 101. Like once you give people a reason to buy something, they will. Let's see what happens next quarter when it comes to this, because they have no excuse going into next quarter. But I also feel like they're sabotaging themselves by telling people in every commercial and every like you said, the long drawn out of different ways that you can play Xbox without playing Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, Game Pass numbers are tied to, of course, PC, and now you get, but people aren't playing on TVs and Fire Sticks to you know, like gargantuan numbers. So when they lost sight of the console, which, you know, Forte just mentioned, by the way, Forte, when you said you would like to see year over year of next quarter be at around -5, any Microsoft investors that were listening just died.
They probably did, because they didn't care for that. That's not even, well, because guess what, Mooch? Literally, I haven't played on my Xbox, and I can't say that. I play on my Xbox now because of NCAA football. That's the only reason I still kept it, because I was like, well, I got to keep it for NCAA football. But Call of Duty, I play on PC. Destiny, I play on PC. Star Wars, I'm going to play on PC. Hellblade 2, I played on PC. It's like, it's no reason. You know, as much as we love Xbox and stuff, and we want Xbox to do better, ever since 2015, when Shannon Loftus came out there and talked about play anywhere, we're putting your games on PC when it comes to Gears of War and Quantum Break, and the whole Xbox community was up in arms. You remember this? Mooch, you saw crap arguing with Phil, and Phil was like, this is the direction. And then Shannon Loftus came out and said, we don't see as much crossover between PC and gamers on console as you guys think it is. It's its own little small ecosystem. Look where we are now.
Right. And listen, anybody who doesn't keeps on going week after week saying, well, PlayStation's going to follow suit. As long as PlayStation wants to continue to sell a console, you just heard it right from Forte, and I agree with you. The minute you say you're going to put everything day and date and go full PC support, you've seen Singer go
it's
from
only a matter of time.
Yep, you've seen Xbox to PC.
I'll give you.
I just don't see PlayStation. That's why I still don't see PlayStation moving their single player first party games day and date. I just don't see it. And if they do, they can kiss their console goodbye.
Mooch, can you hear me, or do I still sound like I'm in a can?
Seeds, you sound phenomenal.
Oh, you sound like you're on an airplane now with really good Wi-Fi.
Really good Wi-Fi, though.
Yeah, I plugged in my actual headset that connects. So the one thing I would say is, when it comes to Activision, I'm not ready to say that it hasn't flourished yet, just because of how new the acquisition is. I think that we have to give it time under their leadership before we can make that assessment. We haven't really even seen a cycle of a game that has occurred yet under the acquisition ownership, because Call of Duty's been in development, I think, for 5 years, might be less than that, but I think it was 5 years, a full development cycle. So I'm not ready to say that one yet, but I do agree with Forte when it comes to NCAA football. For one, we are starting to come into a period of time where it is next gen only, but I still go back to the game that is going to show us kind of this mid gen, total numbers, is going to be Grand Theft Auto 6.
GTA 6,
That is going to be the game that is like that the PS4 players are going to bump up, and then we're going to see what the people who haven't bumped up on Xbox, what they do. Will they bump up to an Xbox Series X? Is Microsoft going to try to push out some new whatever by then to try to capitalize on that? Because I think that they're aware, Sony's aware, everyone's aware that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to move consoles, because that's where it's going to be at for at least, I think, a year, maybe even more. I'm not sure when they're going to come to PC, but for the foreseeable future, that is where we're going to see, I think, the most growth console wise within the next couple of years, is when that game hits. I mean, it broke the record on YouTube for most views. It's going to, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in 2013, wasn't it? 2014, whatever year it was.
13, I think,
And so you're talking 10 years of people that have been waiting for this, and what Rockstar does, that is one company that it's like, they know how to make games, and they know how to make games where you live in for thousands of hours if you want to, because of the online component and just the sheer size of what they offer. So I think that I agree with Forte when it comes to these cycle of games that are coming out. NCAA was probably a mover. We'll see what that comes back at. But the real test is going to be Grand Theft Auto 6, because if Xbox can't move Grand Theft Auto 6, or Xbox is under Grand Theft Auto 6, good luck, bro. Good luck. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do at that point.
At that point, it would be a question. Go
Mooch,
ahead,
I was just going to add one, because someone commented on something I said. They said, we kind of anticipate a decline, right, in Xbox. Although I'm not. What I would say to that is, so every quarter Microsoft put out projections for the following quarter, right? What they expect gaming to perform. What their expectations for this quarter were minus 15% hardware, and it was minus 42. So it's actually 180% worse than what their projection was. So, even again, going back to this Game Pass projections as well, how they fell so, hugely below it, it's kind of seems like it's the same thing here, that they're falling so far behind their projections. And I don't mean by a small margin, like by drastic margins. Like you project 44 million subscribers and you hit 25. You project 15% hardware loss and you get 42. So, these are big. They're kind of off by quite a lot. They haven't quite grasped the trajectory that is going on with Xbox in terms of the projection side of things.
Yeah, and I'm having a couple good conversations here with some folks here. And Singer, maybe you can help me here. Player says, Mooch, because we were saying, he was saying, why not go to PC? And I said, basically, I said living room, family room gamers, they like to just come home, kick their feet up, play on their television, play on their PlayStation or Xbox. And he says, well, I got my I believe he means high-end PC RTX 4080 Super hooked to my 65-inch LG OLED with a wireless keyboard and mouse and an Xbox Elite controller. It's doable. I understand it's doable, but why have this super-powered PC when you're not grasping the actual true potential of a great monitor, right? Because I think a great monitor that's out there probably gives you better frame rate and everything else than you would get from. Is that true, Singer? Would you get better visuals from say a really good monitor versus using a 65-inch OLED?
No, not really. It's just the size of the screen. Like monitors don't come in 65, right?
No,
and they generally have higher refresh rates. For example,
monitors have higher refresh rates.
Yeah, and stuff like that, right? And
but that's the biggest. That's the biggest selling point with PC, isn't it?
Do you want a widescreen? Well, the biggest selling point is options.
Well, one of those options being great frame rates, right?
Well, you can still get the great frame rates. It's just whether your display can keep up with your frame rate, right?
Well, absolutely.
Like when I play League of Legends, I have 1,000+ FPS, right?
Right.
No screen in the world ever is going to make that kind of thing. But so all those frames are wasted, right? But you can put whatever you want. But if you want it blown up on your big 70-inch screen and you're playing, I don't know, you play Red Dead Redemption 2 at ultra settings, all the ray tracing on, whatever you want it to look as beautiful as possible, you could do that.
Right.
If you want to just game on the monitor, you can also just do that. So you have the options. Just that's what it is. So if you want a PC, if that's the way he wants the PC game, that option's there for you.
That's true. That's very true, and that's fine. But I just feel like myself personally, if you're going to put the money into having a super PC rig,
exactly,
like why would I want to? Like you're hurting yourself. I mean, you have a PC that's capable of doing, like you just said, 4K, 120 frames, or 4K, maybe 200 frames. I don't know how much money you're putting into this, and then you're like, no, I'm gonna just put it on my LG OLED that I could play at, maybe I'll reach somewhere around 120 hertz if you have one of the newer ones, right? I mean,
well, does it really matter though?
Yeah, of course it matters.
Sure it does, man.
It's one of the most important things.
If I'm paying for it, I would like. Yeah,
like if that's the way he wants to play, that's the way he can play.
Well,
I get what Mooch is saying. It's kind of like
I could choose to play. I could choose to play with 2 pirate patches over my eyes, right? I mean, you can do whatever you want.
Do you know how I look at it? It's like buying a super high performance car and then sticking the cheapest tires on it. Like why?
Why? I don't understand.
You're losing the performance. You're not maximizing your grip and your cornering. And
I have friends of mine that are they're PC gamers only. And they're the PC gamers that are like, I think they're still rocking a 2070 Super. They will play the games, and they're playing on a 1080p monitor. They're the ones that they want to play their PC games, and they're like Singer. They want just the great cost of the games. They want to have the options. Yeah. They want to tweak it out, and they don't care about that. That I get. But if you're going to go out and spend, $3,500 or $4,000 on a PC, and then you're like, well, I'll dumb it down and play it in my living room. What?
Yeah, exactly. Let me buy a Ferrari and stick some Chinese tires on there.
If you have a 65-inch state-of-the-art OLED, right?
Yes.
Thing is, you're saying all this stuff about a monitor, but the point is, a monitor is not that big. You don't get much real estate. You have to be close to your monitor, right? You have to be sat in your chair at your PC, close to your monitor, right? Because if you try sitting back on the couch on like a 32-inch monitor, you ain't gonna see shit, right? So, if you want to sit down with your wireless mouse and keyboard, which is perfectly viable, and sit down on your couch and play any game you want, you just hook it up to your TV, which is a perfect valid option. It's not like, oh, I bought a Ferrari and put crap tires on it. No, because that TV is fantastic. It's just everyone associates the TV with console gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's a you problem, because PC, lots of people do it. They go between monitor and PC depending on what game they're playing. If I'm playing Call of Duty, I'll be playing on monitor. If I'm playing God of War, I'd play on the TV.
Singer. So I have an LG OLED right here in my office. I have it hooked up also to my gaming PC. Okay. And I played, I did that. I went back and forth. I played Starfield on my monitor, which is a 4K, 240 hertz Zeus, right? The whole thing. And it looked and played tremendously, like this isn't even close, tremendously better with my eyes than when I played on my 50-inch OLED, LG OLED. That's in my, it's right here. And I was like, well, yeah, I could sit on the couch that I have in my office and I can play. That's cool. And it was neat for a while, but I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? What? It looks way better over here on my like day and night, and it performed better. Like the frames are better. Everything. I don't know. I don't myself personally. I get it. Options, right? We're in the world. Like Singer, you can get in your car tomorrow, 90 degrees in Wales. You can put the windows down and turn the air conditioning on, right? I mean, you can do whatever you want. But it doesn't necessarily. That's not the most efficient way to get cool. Right?
Well, no, it isn't the most efficient way. And I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, it's like it also depends what monitor you're running with your PC, right? Because you could have a 4080, but if you don't have a monitor that is as good graphically as your OLED,
right.
Because if you have, so it all depends.
I look at it as kind of like bottlenecks, right? Like if you have a rig, whatever kind of rig it is, you kind of want to remove the bottleneck. If the bottleneck is your CPU, it doesn't keep up with your GPU, fine, improve it. So I look at the monitor as like another extension of that. Is if the monitor can't keep up with the refresh rates and whatever the features of the of the GPU, it doesn't have VSync or G-Sync or whatever, then you kind of want to improve that to utilize what the rest of your hardware can do. I did want to say one other thing. Sorry to get really geeky, and I don't want to go into detail, but there's always this conversation about refresh rates with displays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vincent Teo from HD TV Test, which in my opinion is the best there is reviewer for displays, because he has like a £40,000 reference monitor that like calibration studios and production offices and stuff use, so he can compare it to the real thing. He does a great video about how you kind of have to stop looking at just refresh rates, and what's equally, if not more important, is pixel response time, which is the time it takes for colors and things to change, the pixels to shift, because refresh rate is one thing, pixel response time is another, which is why even if you have a monitor with a super low refresh rate, it could be like 1 millisecond, it can still have smearing based on a slower pixel response time. So just watch the video, HD TV Test, Google it. If you want to buy a new monitor or a new TV, look at that, because there's a lot more to consider than just the refresh.
Yeah, guys, I'll be honest.
Ahead,
I know we're
Seeds.
sitting here nerding out about all these different things. I just got done doing a platinum trophy on Cyberpunk, and I picked a chick up out of a bathtub, and her titties are jiggling all over the place.
Yeah, I did that mission. Yeah,
so I'll be honest with you. Like I think it's personal preference. Like some people don't want to come home and have to go from a computer chair at work to come home and sitting in a computer chair at home to play it, when I can hook up, to my TV. Like,
right.
I kind of ashamed to say how much my Sony TV cost me, but I can hook up my desktop in here and have a great experience.
It's a very good experience, but again, it depends. Everything's relative, I feel, right?
Correct.
I feel like this. If you're going to be like my friends are budget PC gamers. Like I said, they literally just got a 2070 Super like dirt cheap like a year ago. Like they just upgraded that. They have a 1080p monitor. They're happy. They don't care. My point is, if you are going, it's like what Nib said with the Ferrari and then the tires, right? Like my point is like if you're going to go and spend, if you're said to me, Mooch, Seeds, you go to me, listen, I got a good PC here, right? But you're playing with, I don't know, 2080 or something like that. Then what you just said makes total sense. But if you're going to go and spend that kind of money and then you're going to hook it up to your OLED, and listen, I'm not pretending to be a PC expert. I'm just saying I've tried them both with mine. I currently have a 3090 Ti. Right, it's not the newest, it's not the latest and greatest, right? But it definitely does its thing. So
it ain't no Honda Civic though. It ain't no Honda Civic.
Mooch, I think the newest OLEDs though they can do that, because I think the new G4, for example, goes up to 144 hertz.
Well, that's impressive. So I don't have a G4.
Yeah.
I mean, but
also mileage varies, right?
Right.
Because remember, you are forgetting some fundamentals. If I want to run Cyberpunk with path tracing, which makes the game look...
That doesn't even exist on console.
Well, yeah.
Console won't have it for like the next 10 years. They barely got ray tracing. Like, let's be real. And even then, ray tracing is a waste. But if you want the best graphical experience, right?
It is, I agree.
You load up the path tracing, guess what? That tanks your frame rate, right? So you ain't getting your 144 hertz anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if you ain't getting that frame rate anyway, if you load up the ray tracing, you crank up all the quality settings.
That's right.
So if you're cranking up all those quality settings and you're cranking up the ray tracing, you want the best possible display to take advantage of all these dials you're cranking up, right? And if you have a 1440p monitor, that ain't gonna compete with the 4K OLED you got.
Yeah, Mooch, all that gameplay that you have, the beautiful gameplay that you be showcasing on Call of Duty.
Thank you.
Is that PC or console?
This is PS5.
PS5. What have you played? Have you really played it on PC?
I played Wars through the pandemic. I played a very large amount on PC. I did play a good amount on PC.
That was before the 3090, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was when I had the 2080 Ti.
Oh yeah, Mooch. Let me tell you something, Mooch. I've been playing because I didn't want to buy it again because I had it on Xbox and on PlayStation.
Yeah, talk to me.
But ever since ever since Modern Warfare 3 hit Game Pass, and I've been playing it on PC Game Pass. Let me tell you something, bro. You want to play Call of Duty at the next level, bro?
Well, all Mooch does is lay on the roof, so I don't really know how much.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. I got Mooch out there be dumping on people, literally. I will. The one thing I will say about Mooch and Call of Duty, I was like, yo, it's something to behold.
I love it.
Watching that man run from rooftop to rooftop.
Rooftop to rooftop, baby. Well, listen, I'm telling you, I'll try it for it. Listen, like I said, it's been
got Game Pass still.
Yeah, I did not have
downloaded on Game Pass PC. Give that 3090 a whirl, and you're gonna be like, "Yo, what have I been doing?"
Yeah, I will check it out for sure. No doubt at all about that. I can't take that away. Let me ask this question real quick. TC, I want to ask you. I'm going to switch over topics here real quick because this was something that was late breaking. And again, it's a report. I don't believe it is confirmed, so I'm not going to say it's confirmed. It's a report coming from The Verge saying that Avowed is getting delayed till early 2025, and it's to give breathing room. TC. I mean, so in 2024, we've gotten Hellblade 2.
The other Game Pass title, right? I think that's...
Yes, this is Avowed from Obsidian Games. I know this is a game that Death Singer has been really looking forward to, so this has not made his day with this information. But, TC, it's hard when you have a year that we've only had Hellblade 2 to say we want to give breathing room. And they said the game is nearly complete or complete. It's in good shape. So they're saying it's not delayed because it needs time. It's just they want to give the Game Pass releases breathing room. And I'm sitting there and I'm scratching my head saying, well, if it's near complete, well, just launch it in September then. You know what I mean? I don't know what this. Why are we pushing it back further? 2024 is seeming a lot like 2022 again.
2022, did they? I don't think they had. They had major releases.
They had Pentiment in like November or December or something.
Yeah, so Hellblade 2 is something. They still have Indiana Jones.
And they have Indiana Jones.
Avowed was pushed back. I think, is Stalker 2 still coming out this year?
Yes. Stalker 2 is still
Stalker 2 is pretty huge.
It is, but it's a timed exclusive. I'm talking about Game
Pass.
Yeah,
no, I know. Yeah. You're talking about specific. I'm going off them saying, I think this is what it said, to give breathing room for the Game Pass title. So Stalker 2 is a Game Pass title, so maybe they want to give it breathing room, but I think it's because of the reception Avowed has gotten. Personally, from what we've seen so far of it, that game hasn't really pulled me in. But I'm not really big on Bethesda games, but or I guess this is Obsidian. Who's making Avowed?
Also, isn't Shutter Skies Shadow? What's the name coming out this?
For Starfield.
Yes, Starfield. Is that September 14th?
So they might be also talking about that game too, because that's a massive DLC.
It is a big DLC. Honestly,
and also you're forgetting the elephant in the room that's coming to Game Pass. A little something called Call of Duty.
COD is coming.
A little something called Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass.
Yeah,
Do you really want to be competing with that for Game Pass?
I mean, nothing. No, listen. Whenever game, listen. Whenever
Mooch is saying,
whenever Call of Duty comes out, no game outside of like Rockstar went up against Call of Duty. Everyone gives Call of Duty their space. Everybody does. So that one there, Singer, I can't roll with you with. But I will understand. I do understand the Starfield thing. I do understand the Stalker thing. I don't know.
And Indiana Jones as well.
And Indiana Jones. So I guess there's 3 there. But if the game is ready, we're sitting here waiting. Put it in there now.
It depends on how much delayed is it going to be. Is it going to be just like early 2025, January, February?
I think it's going to be February release.
That's not really a big deal for people who are waiting for that game regardless. They have other games to play later this year.
I agree. I think we can listen. Anytime anybody has anything, whether PlayStation, and they're like, well, I haven't done anything from PlayStation. There's plenty of games to play, right? We can
my God. Look, chat, we finally changed Mooch's mind.
That's
hard to do.
What's that?
It's hard to change Mooch. He was like, okay, guys, I get it. He said, yeah, that makes sense.
I do get it.
That. We actually changed his mind. I can't believe it.
I like that. It's funny. I was on a podcast a while ago, and somebody said they were going back and forth with me, and the host of the show was like, man, you're going to lose that with Mooch because he will continue to go on his high horse.
He's relentless.
That's right. Listen. It's a mooching quality. That's all I can say. No, honestly, you make some good points. I was just shocked because of all the things we mentioned. Okay, Starfield DLC. We already know where Starfield is, right? So it's like the people who like Starfield gonna go in for the DLC. Nobody who was like, I hated Starfield, or you saw all those mixed reviews and people saying I didn't care for it. They're not gonna be like, wait, more Starfield? Okay, so that's not really gonna move the pendulum there. The how do I put it? Because I think the Indiana Jones thing is being pushed really, really strong from the Xbox camp. But I really think that the Indiana Jones game is going to do well in my era, my age group. I don't see a lot of like people that are younger going to be like,
I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but TC,
I think it doesn't. That's the reason why.
I don't think it gets delayed. No.
Oh, I also think the reason you're seeing this is I think of all those games you guys were talking about. 2 of those games being a game that is always set to come out in November in Call of Duty,
right?
And Stalker, being not.
But again, you're talking
Call of Duty is October 25th.
But think about it.
Want to maintain that 3. They want to maintain that 3 to 4 games a year. And I think Avowed being moved out of the year to give them something at the beginning of next year might be part of the reason too.
That's fine. And don't forget Flight Sim. You guys seen the changes that they're doing to Flight Sim.
Flight Sim is coming out soon.
I purposely forgot Flight Sim. Thanks for reminding me.
Well, the reason I bring up Flight Sim is because it does seem that they've implemented more campaign style like missions. They got rescue missions, all kind of stuff. Like, I'm probably going to crash the helicopter into the side of a freaking cliff, but still, I'm going to play it because it's a mix-up of what we've had in the past.
I guess so.
I think they're evolving that franchise. The other thing is, I mean, guys, all these games we keep talking about them coming to Xbox. I'm just going to wait and play them on my PS5. Because they're gonna come to PS5. We know that
eventually they will. Eventually
they will. I'm either gonna play it on PC.
A lot of people were saying
play it on PS5.
But the thing about that is, I can't.
Is an Xbox. Remember?
The thing is, I can't wait. Like for certain games, like Avowed, can't wait. Super excited. I don't mind it's delayed because I got 15 other games. 20 games I need to play between now and 2025, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've got of all brand new games. Like I got Space Marine 2, I got Stalker to play.
Space Marine 2, I'm hyped for that. I've been waiting for so long.
Call of Duty to play. My catalog is full. So them pushing Avowed is actually, I am grateful because I wouldn't have got around to Avowed until about then anyway. Because there's so much I have to play. So and then there's Metaphor. Like my slate is loaded. Like, I am in for a treat this year. So
I think when it comes down to it, I'm not a big fan of this slogan, but everyone's keeping the same energy. By the way, Singer, everything you said holds water, right? You named great games that are coming out. Warhammer's coming out. There's other things coming out, of course. But like every time, there's always a situation. You can always use that ploy outside of the months of usually June, July, and August. And even August has a decent list of games coming out, I think more towards the latter half. But nonetheless, I think that we can always say that. So the thing is, though, there are certain people, unlike me and you, Singer, that aren't looking forward to some of the games that were just mentioned by you. And they were looking forward to Avowed. Now they're waiting until February or March, which, again, I think that the rationale on Xbox's side holds water. I really do. I think them putting an early game out there of that magnitude is a good move. I really, really do, especially with the games that are coming out. But there are people who have legitimately been waiting for Avowed for a very long time. When was the first time they showed that CGI sequence?
Right. See, that's me. But diehard Obsidian fans, I can only speak for the diehard. We are willing to wait because we know what the product's going to be at the end of it. We know Obsidian's pedigree. And it is fine.
Listen,
if you need to,
Singer,
it's only the first delay, and if you need to delay it a couple of just to give it some breathing room, please do it. I wish nothing but success.
Singer, listen. There's a pizza place that I absolutely love. Let's just say, like the way you have fondness for Obsidian, I have for this one pizza place. But when I call them, and every week is 35 minutes, and then I call them on a busy football weekend, and they say to me, it'll be there in about an hour and 15 minutes, we're running delayed, I still wait for that pizza the way you are, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm excited to wait an extra 45 minutes for my favorite pizza to show up. I understand what you're saying, and I know the quality's still going to be there, and I'm still going to give the great same tip I always do, just because they're busy, I'm not going to hit them for that, but you can't say, I've been waiting all year for Avowed. I'll wait a little longer. You want to wait a little longer, that's fine. But there's other people out there that are not happy their pizza's coming 45 minutes later. That's my point.
You even have some of the hardcore kind of Xbox guys that do the podcast and stuff. They are outspoken on Twitter saying, can we ship a game? Like, can we ship a game? I've seen some of the guys tweeting today, like their frustration at Avowed being delayed, because here's the reason why I say this. Xbox promised, not just Xbox, Phil Spencer promised that he wanted to get to one game per quarter at quality. That's what he wanted to put onto Game Pass. And I think the mindset right now is, at least from what I'm seeing, is guys are saying, look, if the game is ready, ship it. Don't push it just because you have these other ones. Show us that you can ship these games. Show us that you can ship these games at quality. And the reason I brought up, I don't know that Indiana Jones is going to get pushed. I hope that it doesn't. I hope it releases, but it's not playable at Gamescom from what I saw. And so that's a little bit concerning for me. If some of these games that are going to be, like Towerborn's going to be playable there, Microsoft Flight Sim, I believe, is supposed to be playable there. There's a couple other games that are going to be playable there. Yeah. And I think that... and someone's pushback may be, well, it's a campaign game, they don't want to spoil it. I think that's fair pushback, but at least do a vertical slice, because right now the problem is Xbox has not built a lot of, and I definitely don't want to turn this into an Xbox bash, because I throw some jokes and jabs in there, but it's warranted at this point. But the problem is they haven't built a whole lot of trust. And I think that if you come out and you say, hey guys, here's a playable demo, like they did with Stalker at Games Fest. People played Stalker 2 at Game Fest, and it was very mixed. Some guys said, yeah, it plays pretty good. Others are like, nah, it needs more time. And they delayed it. So they took some of that advice based off people playing it, and they delayed it. They obviously have a very different set of circumstances than Obsidian and some of these other studios. But I think at this point, the sentiment behind some of these very vested Xbox guys are, can we ship a game? Can you ship a game right now? Because all they have right now is Hellblade. For this year, since, Starfield released? All they have is Hellblade.
I will say, Detective C's just activated my trap card. And my trap card says counterpoint. He activated my trap Oh, go on.
Wait, before you go to your trap card, Mooch,
Oh, boy.
I was trying to listen to. I see down. I said, "Oh Lord, here goes Singer." All right, Singer, you have fun with that trap card. Mooch, I got to go.
Hey,
for
listen,
DPS.
Forte, great to have you here 2 weeks in a row, buddy. Say what's up to Slow Mo for us, guys. Go over and check out DPS as soon as Crossfire's over. Forte, outstanding work. Great to have you here, Forte.
All right, appreciate y'all. You have a good week.
Yeah, shout out. You know, a little history here. So I see there's a lot of people. Singer, you've been listening to me for a long time, so you know. And this is like a mild Mooch. Like nobody yells on podcasts anymore. Nobody gets excitable on podcasts. Everyone's like, well, and then we're going to be discussing the video game voice and performance actors that are going on strike later today. It's like I get a little bit of, you get a little emotional when you're talking on a podcast. It's fun, I think. Everyone's like, Mooch, chill out. I'm like, hashtag who's yelling? Little news story for people who don't know. I was on this show, and I was going back and forth. Shout out to the great Crap Gamer. And we were going back and forth. A person in the chat had apparently first time to the show. And they were like, hey, Crap, who's this guy yelling? Who's yelling? It's me. It's my show. It's part of the show. I don't get it. Singer, you've known that for a long time. Singer gets it. Shout out to Casual7. Casual goes, Mooch, if you chill, I'll buy you a pizza. Buddy, I'm sold. I'll take anything. I don't care.
I wait for Destiny to pull out the trap card. I want to see what this trap card.
I've already pulled the trap card, right? And the
Hold
trap
on.
card and the
Whip
trap
it out on
card
the table.
is counterpoint. There isn't a playable demo, but there will be a trailer and release date at Gamescom, and it'll be for December or November.
Hey, you know what? I'll accept that. That's totally cool. And if they are going to have that there, then I accept that trap card. Well, you know what? It's not even a trap card. It's just them actually announcing a release date. So that's
wait. What is this for? What game?
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, well, so you hope.
Well,
we don't know for sure.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's the source?
Yeah. The source is his hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I'm the source. I'm thinking because
my
Okay. Hold on. Nick. Okay. Let me get a full timeout. This is a full. I know over in Wales that means that we're taking a break real quick. So, did you say that you're the source, and are you guessing this, or did someone tell you this?
No, I'm guessing this. I'm completely.
Oh, guessing. Jesus Christ!
Wait. Let's say
I'm assuming. The thing is, the reasoning for it was they need to give something to Jeff for opening night live. Then they'll also have their own show, and I'm pretty sure they'll show you the release date. And Indiana Jones will release in November.
Yeah, we'll see.
I just got out of that trap. I just got out of that trap like Stuart Little. I mean, what the?
It was like it was no trap at all. It was like a piece of string. But I was gonna say I'm gonna put on my flame suit right now, and this is why. Sorry, Xbox fanboys, but this is why. Like every damn year, it's the same bloody thing. Oh, look at this! Look at the exclusives. This year's gonna be like stomp PlayStation. Oh, this year's every year I hear the same stuff, and I always say from now on, look. Before you jump ahead, let's just wait and see what the actual, which games get delayed and what games actually come out. And I've been hearing literally Xbox side ridicule PlayStation's like first party, release schedule, whatever this year. But if we're talking like Sony Interactive Entertainment published titles, as in they paid for these games, Stellar Blade, Concord, Astrobot, Helldivers 2, Last of Us 2 remastered, and then is going up against Hellblade. So the side that has been criticized all year, but then what Team Green is coming out with just Hellblade and maybe Indiana Jones, come on, that's another L. This is like 2022 all over again.
Then again, I also have to counterpoint you on that because Age of Mythology is releasing. That's another first party game. I know
it's like a remake. Yeah.
Someone in chat is saying that Xbox announced Avowed and Indiana Jones will be shown at Gamescom on the theater floor. So, there could be a chance. Here's my thing: if they don't show a release date, I don't know how you can't be concerned.
Well, yeah, it's delayed if they don't show a release date.
For sure, and then they're just going to release. I mean, Stalker 2, as long as they put the polish on that, which, man, I'll tell you what, I really want that team to do well because of everything that they've had to deal with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Stalker 2, to be honest with you. We don't really talk about it enough because every time we kind of get warmed up, and I understand there's reasons that are beyond control, but it keeps getting pushed to the right again. But it does look good. But see, you were just saying before you got Singer all riled up.
Yeah.
You
I
were
like
saying
that.
you were saying it was mixed reviews. Where was this
Yeah.
at?
Yeah, so at Summer Game Fest, I didn't get to go out there because what I was dealing with, but I talked to some of the guys that did, and they got to go hands on with Stalker 2. And one of the big complaints was the polish on the shooting and the shooting mechanics were just not very crisp, and that was the main feedback that I saw. There was some dips in frames and stuff like that in some of the environments that they were going into, and so they just said, "Hey, I think it needs some more time. It needs some more polish." And then they came out and delayed it, which I think is good. If there's one game specifically that I really don't want to play on Game Pass, I actually want to buy and help and get them money, it'd be Stalker 2, just because of everything that team's gone through, and just to kind of help the developers out in that sense. But I think that they took that feedback from, and I'll tell you another game that did this too. They took that feedback from Summer Game Fest and they said, okay, we have identified some problem areas. We're going to fix that. The other game that did this is Space Marine 2. There was I can say it now, but there was a playable demo at Summer Game Fest behind closed doors. And they got feedback that you need to polish some of these areas, specifically on the shooting, some other things. Similar feedback that we've given to Star Wars Outlaws and some of the stuff that we've gone hands-on with. We've given some, at least I have given some feedback. I know other guys have as well. Space Marine 2 canceled their beta so that they could take time to polish based off the feedback that they got at Summer Game Fest. They said there's no point in us doing a beta. We have identified some of these problems. Rather than us throwing out a beta and taking that piece of the game and working on that and kind of extracting it out and doing that, let's focus on polishing this game so that it is ready for release later this year, which is in like 40 some days or 50 days, whatever it is. So those are two games that came out of Summer Game Fest that were played, demoed, given feedback, and they took the feedback and they went back and said, we need to do this because of the overwhelming amount of feedback that they received. I don't think that Star Wars Outlaws, and we might talk about that at some point, I don't think that they're going to delay. I think the problems, or not necessarily problems, but things that Star Wars Outlaws needs to polish, I think can be done within the period of time before it releases. But some of these other games, they definitely needed to polish up before they were ready to come out. And I'm glad that they've done that, because it's two games that I know personally that have done that. The other games, but they didn't delay. Astrobot was playable out there. Got great feedback. Not going to delay it.
Right.
And then, you just had some of these other games that have continued their development cycle that are in a regular cycle. So that's what took place. And based off that feedback.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, Seeds with the inside word. I do have a couple of speed rounds here as I've just written to the great Mr. Badbit. Hopefully he can join us back, and hopefully we can have a segment on the Star Wars Outlaws. We'll still discuss it for a moment, but Nib, I'll start with you. Nib, I do want to bring up PSVR2 sales exploding, like absolutely going through the roof. Now, everyone was like, I bought PSVR2 day one. There's so many games on the game store. I mean, I think 2-3 months ago, maybe it was longer, it was over 150 games available. Now there's more games. Now it's coming to PC, PSVR2 with an adapter. Will be coming to PC soon. That's great for me because I actually own, I think, upwards of 20 VR games on Steam. So I would much prefer to use the PSVR headset than my Oculus. Nib, was this, well, remember all the troubles we heard? Oh, there's not enough games. Sony doesn't care. It seems it was just the price. It seems the price really, really ran this thing.
I agree, because it's one of those novelty items. You need it in addition to your PS5, but soon you can use it with PC as well. But yeah, I agree. I actually think it's part of. So I hear like certain analysts, I love their work, by the way, but Matt Piscatelli and stuff. Yeah. When he talks about like the decline in hardware, but I always think, look, you got to understand the context of the situation, right? Launch aligned. the PS4 at the time, I know the official RRP was $300, but you could actually buy the 500 terabyte version, gigabyte version, for $250. In fact, I remember during Black Friday it went even lower than that. So we're talking about like a $250 for a disc PS4 at the time versus what, like 400. I know they've just reduced the price $50, but $450, $500 PlayStation 5s today almost double. It's well beyond the point of just inflation. It places these things out of the contention of like the casual gamer, the impulse buying gamer, etc. A mum is just not going to walk into a shop. Oh yeah, let me just buy my son this $500 thing. It's outside of that range. And I think with the VR2 and even if the PS5 and Series X, to be honest, if they get these sort of like deeper price cuts, I think we'll find more and more people are still waiting on the sidelines for these items. And to the point with the PS5, like Sony announced, I think it was a few quarters ago, maybe 3 quarters ago, on a conference live call, that 30% of PS5 owners never owned a PS4. So they're attracting new customers. I saw that. Yep. And we know that a retention. A lot of PlayStation gamers are still playing on PS4, and I think they're waiting to come over. They just need that price drop and probably something along the lines of like a GTA 6. I'm not too surprised. I think like with the whole PC thing and the price drop, and probably maybe even future price drops to come, it still has a long life in it and future support.
I agree. Detzinger, now it's coming to PC with a rumored $80 adapter. Singer, are you going to be picking? You going to be picking this up?
Have done that.
No, I don't like it either. But listen, here's the thing: it is going to be one of the better headsets to use with your PC. So
the thing is, if I was going to go do it, I would rather have completely wireless headset than even a single wire.
What if you have a PS5 as well?
Well, if you have a PS5, then okay, that makes sense, right? But also, they said the PSVR2 is not going to take certain features into account when it's playing on PC, right? It's going to lose certain features because they won't, like adaptive triggers and stuff like that won't come over when you use it on your PC. So you'll have a different experience. So that's going to be a thing. But if I was to ever dabble in VR, I would want to go the wireless approach because I absolutely hate all wires everywhere. And I know they improved the PSVR 2, one wire, but I still don't want to be tethered to the PC. If I'm using VR, I want to stand in the middle of the room, do all that kind of thing.
I mean, don't get me wrong. So saying your personal preference, it always reigns king. So I can't say you're wrong there. I also would prefer to be untethered if I had a choice. But the idea behind the PSVR 2 is, of course, the PS5 is doing the heavy lifting. So
yes.
That's why the headset is light and it's very comfortable to wear, in my personal opinion. But I will say this much. If I'm playing, you do have to be in proximity. Actually, let me ask Singer. Let me not assume. Singer, if you're going to go ahead and wirelessly wear a Quest 2 and play your PC or Quest 3, what's the vicinity? How close do you need to be to your PC to use it?
I have no idea because I have no interest in VR, but if I was to go VR, I would have to go the wireless approach regardless of
So you would go Quest 3?
I would go Quest 3 if I wanted to experience VR.
Which is fine. That's fine. I don't think that's a bad answer at all, but I believe with the new sale price, which I think will end up probably being the permanent price, I really do think. Once they see the success of this. But I myself personally, I don't have a problem with the one wire playing on my PS5. And I really wouldn't mind in my office right next to I'd rather be hardwired up to my PC. You will also get a better performance hardwired, Singer. I mean, which I think it goes back to our TV conversation again. I know it's small potatoes, maybe, but it is better, I believe, if you're hardwired. So I don't. Go ahead, Nib. But I do want to say this. I'll throw this volleyball for you, Nib. I do agree with Singer. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that I think if you have a PS5 and you have a PSVR2 today, they've done this before with the adapter should be sent to you or heavily discounted, I would think.
So I'm just sorry, I'm trying to find the exact 1/3. Okay, I've got the data. Okay, so the other thing I was going to say is, it ties into this whole thing about PlayStation trying to transition PC gamers one way or another over to PlayStation. Again, we're not saying that many people will do this, but they just want even a small percentage to do it. It's lucrative for them, right? Because once you get someone into an ecosystem, there's long-term revenue gains. But again, going back to that statistic about from Sakana, when they said 30% of active PC gamers own a PlayStation, PS4 as well. So we already know there's like cross-pollination between the two platforms. So say you are a PC gamer right now who you intend to buy a PlayStation 5, and it's like, okay, I could get this other VR headset, or I could get this one where in future, when later down the line I do get a PlayStation 5, I can use it with both platforms. So it's just a boon in that regard. And then what do they have coming out September to November or whatever? A PlayStation 5 Pro. So if you are a high-end gamer who wants slightly better, you don't want to sacrifice too much on the visual side, you also have an alternative that, makes the transition from PC that little bit less dramatic. And so I think, these are the kind of things they're trying to do to, again, kind of move people over, even if it's a very small percentage, to just broaden that cross-pollination.
I'm seeing some people in the chat. I'm not sure if they're being serious or not, but they're like, someone said Apple VR is 50 times better than PSVR2.
I mean, to be fair, the VR is niche. That Apple VR
is niche.
It's going to be beyond niche. Like, the Apple VR is going to be celebrities walking around with it strapped to the head, getting into their Lamborghini or something.
I would venture to guess, Singer, and I hate speaking future terms, 10 years from now and $2,500 cheaper. And the capability. Then I said 10 to 12 years. I mean, I think when we get to that point, would you see more people wearing a visor shaped, Star Trek: The Next Generation type visor type of thing, and enjoying their content on the go? We never speak in absolutes here on Crossfire. Never say never, Singer, but. I could see something like that in the very, very distant future.
Well, they do have glasses for that. There is glasses where you can project video games.
I'll be watching my Detective Seeds OnlyFans on the Vice.
Yeah, the thing is, so it's not a full headset. It's just this like pair of glasses. It looks like you're wearing a pair of shades.
That's right.
And it'll display the game and everything in front of you. And it works with stuff like the Steam Deck. So if you want to portably go, you don't even have to use the Steam Deck. You just plug it into the Steam Deck, and then you can just look and play the game. And, and you could be sat down in a library, and no one would be none the wiser. You're playing Doom. Like, no, you're just there reading a book or whatever. And you're like, let me put the glasses on, and off I go. And so I think that's just pretty cool. So I think technology will go that way, where you'll eventually just come to glasses. Like,
so Singer, going back to the original question, you don't feel the need to pick up a PSVR2 or a Quest 3? That's just not your bag.
No, I have zero interest unless they do something drastic gaming wise. The only game that I would want to experience is like Half-Life Alyx, but that's because I'm a massive Half-Life fan,
right?
And I know it's a good experience, but like until there's more experiences that until stuff gets a bit better, I wouldn't be interested in it.
There's certain games like Call of the Mountain that do require you, I will say, to stand up and be have a decent range of motion in the room you're playing in. But there's a lot of other games that I play that are PC VR, PlayStation VR 2, and you could sit down for a lot of games. I see a lot of people playing in their living room on their couch. You don't have to stand and all the GIFs that are out there and people falling over and standing on one foot and getting lost in their living room. Some games, require some of that. I think some of that's embellished. But like a lot of VR, regardless, PlayStation or Quest, you don't always have to be running around your living room. You know what I mean? So like I don't think you need to have the room. Like I don't have a lot of room in my office. My office it's an office. So when I play, VR on the game, my PC, like I I'm wired, and I also don't have any, not using PSVR2. I'm using the Oculus, but like it's just you don't need a ton of room. Is my point, Singer. So if you're one of those situations where you're like, I need to have free range of motion. I need to be able to be untethered. I need to be able to run around.
I have the room. I have the room for it. It's just
all right.
I want to be untethered, so I could just walk around with my headset. Let's say I'm in the game that I really want to play is Beat Saber, right? Because I have some I have some awesome tracks, and I have a nice Spotify playlist and everything,
Singer.
and I just want to load that up on there and just play through because it looks
It's
mega
great.
fun.
No, it is. It's
But
fun.
the thing is, I want it to be untethered because if I need to go to the toilet or if I need to go to I don't have to take out the head. I could just go, just do my business, make some food, come back, and there we go, So.
Captain Chat says, I think I'll just be keeping
you go to the toilet with your headset
I was
on.
just going to say, that's
No,
very...
I would if it was...
Mate, all I can say is, you're lucky you don't have a girlfriend. If my wife saw me do that, she'd probably chuck it down the toilet.
Well, actually, I do, and it doesn't matter because it's like, okay, so you're allowed to, you people surf Twitter and Instagram and all that whilst they're on the toilet. What's wrong with having a headset on your head when you're on the toilet?
You're gonna have poo particles ingrained in all the prefaces and of this visor.
No.
Remind me never to use his VR equipment.
Hang on. We need to go over the mechanics of that. How do you even get that to happen? It's on your head. Your head isn't going into the toilet.
So these things rise. These real things rise with oxygen levels and things like that. They float around in the air. Do you not know that?
Yeah.
They float around in the air.
Come on. You know what? Yeah, good Mooch. Next topic.
Yes, we'll move on to the next. Captain Chat says, Mooch, I think I'll be keeping my cash for the PS5 Pro. VR is tempting, but not sure I'd get the use out of it. Listen, the one thing that I'll always say is, and Singer said it a few times, it's a niche product. It really is. I do think it brings... I don't like... You guys know, have been following me for a long time. I don't like using the word experience. Experience is one of the reasons I didn't like VR when it first came out. PSVR, the original headsets that came out, everything was like, try the Batman experience. No, I want to play a Batman game, right? These games that come out now are games. Like, now you might say that game is not for you. That's fine. But they're games. They're not just experiences where you put the headset on and you look down and you're like, oh, look, my hands and my legs look like Batman. No, this is actually a situation where you play the games. It is a different realm, if you will, for experiencing video games. And I know a lot of people that say it gets motion sick. They can't stand it. I don't like being enclosed. I don't like the idea that I can't see. It's not AR. It's not augmented reality. It is virtual reality. So you are completely cut off from society, the world, your family. It is just you in this world. That's something that I think is a minus in that retrospect. But I would say this, if you have the expendable cash, while it's on sale right now, I do think that Sony will eventually make that the permanent price, and I think you'll continue to only see the price go down as we go through the rest of the generation, because they know that the sales are going to stop the minute this thing hits back at 500 or 550. It's just not going to do that. And plus, they're seeing the sweet spot right there at 350 against their competitor, the Quest 3, which is like the new latest and greatest, that's sitting at, I just checked right now, it looks like it's sitting at $499. So if they sit at 350 and they have a very, very good headset, again, it's tethered, it's not untethered. You are linked to your PS5, you will be linked to your PC. If that's something that bothers you, like Singer said, can't talk you out of that either. Really can't. I understand. I get the gripe. But at 350, it's probably one of the better pieces of tech in the VR world. And I think a lot of people, go watch all the VR channels. Go watch, I don't mean the PlayStation ones. Go watch anyone that does VR only. And they criticize and review every headset. They're very, very impressed with the PSVR2's tech. I do want to ask this much. So shout out to the great Mr. Bad Bit. I just talked to him. He had a situation come up. He's not going to be able to join us back tonight. He played Star Wars Outlaws. I'll ask the question to the panel that remains. And Detective Seeds also had to leave, guys. But Nib, I'll start with you because I know I believe Singer will have quite the answer here. But Nib, a lot of mixed reviews when it comes to Star Wars Outlaws, and I did not play it. I only saw the gameplay, but we've all seen a bit of the clips that have come out from the reviewers. I'm excited because a couple of reasons. I kept on waiting on the other Star Wars games. Like, I'll give you an example. Star Wars Survivor came out, right? And I have that game on PC. And I still have yet to play it because it was wait for the patch because it's broken. Wait for the patch, it's not working. Wait for the patch, it's still not fixed. Wait for the patch, it's still not done. Now I've even asked people, is it good? They're like, it is probably in its best state, but it probably could still use another patch. Again, that's what people tell me. And I keep putting it off. And now I'm at a point right now, Nib, where I am jonesing to play a Star Wars game. And I saw some of the shooting mechanics, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, it looked a little rough. Now, that doesn't mean I'm still going to pick this game up, and I'm still going to play it when it comes out. But Nib, what do you think from what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and the mixed reviews? Some people are like, it's great. Some people are like, man, that was a tough outing.
Yeah.
You know?
So you know what? Based on what I've seen, again, I don't know. I am personally excited, and I know some people hate because there's a lot of like controversy around this game that extends beyond gaming, if that makes sense.
There's
socio-political controversy about this game. You know, like her appearance and DEI and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of clouds the conversation. I'm talking strictly about the game from a gameplay and immersion perspective, right? To me, I am excited for it, and I will say, yes, I agree with you. Like some of the gunplay, some of the like combat, and some of the mechanics and stuff does look a little bit janky, but the scale, the scope, the kind of atmosphere, the immersion, the putting you into a world that feels kind of lived in, rich, you know, expansive. Like I think it does those things really well. So I can see it being a game where even if it might not be the most refined in gameplay mechanics, which ironically enough sounds just like Assassin's Creed, you could still potentially invest a lot of time in the world, with the story, with the characters, you know, the diversity of the mechanics, and whether you want to be, you know, stealth or attacking and this and that. So I think it still has potential. And yeah, there's a lot of things about it that draw me to it. So while it may not be sort of like a game of the year banger, I have a feeling it could still be potentially solid, but we just have to wait and see, because obviously this is only a small slice of the total game. But what about you guys? What do you think? What's your overall opinions on what you've seen?
What do you think? What do you think, Singer? I mean, I'll reserve a bit of my thought.
All right, so I'm gonna lay it out to you. Right, I've been doing this with Ubisoft now for the past couple of years. We go way back. Right, here's the play. Star Wars Outlaws. Okay, looks fine. Assassin's Creed Shadows. Excited. Day Ubisoft Plus day one. And then come 2025 on the Steam Summer Sale, they'll go down to like 20 in price. And then if I enjoyed them, I'll buy them. Right, so that's the play. Ubisoft Plus, you pay your $15 for the month and play the game. And I'll do that for every single Ubisoft game going forwards for the end of time, because I saw the light.
Yes.
Because when I pay the $15, I get the Ultimate Edition, so I get all the DLC, I get all the
Singer,
bits and bobs.
Can I ask you as a mooch on the air, if you get any of those Ubisoft, what are they called? Ubisoft Plus? What is it?
Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, if you get any Ubisoft Plus, hey, have your friend try it out for 3 months? Send one this way.
I don't even know if they do them. I just pay the $15 and then unsubscribe and call it.
I don't think they do. Yeah. So do you do the $15 like just randomly? Are you currently on Ubisoft Plus now, or no? You're waiting for Star Wars?
Not. No. Okay. It's like with Valhalla. I subbed for the $15.
Yep.
Played it, beat it, unsubscribe.
Did you say 15? Was that 15 or 50?
15.
Okay, 15. That's very reasonable.
So I paid 15. So when you when Outlaws comes out,
yes,
and bear in mind this is a PC exclusive, so I'm sorry, console players, you don't have access to this option. Shout out to options, by the way. But I paid
every
the 15.
Every time Singer says options, I think of him like driving tomorrow at night in 95-degree weather with the windows down, the air conditioner on. Go ahead, Singer, please.
So yeah, you pay the 15. And then you just unsubscribe, and it's the best way, because Ubisoft games come out every now and again. So, you know, it's like, I already understand Ubisoft's template of what they do, and it's just the most sensible way to consume them, because Ubisoft games always go on deep sale the year after on Steam. So if you want to own the game, you play it for the 15, right? Then you get it on deep sale, you still paid less than what the base game was worth. And not only that, you probably get the Ultimate or the Deluxe Edition on the Steam sale for cheaper than what the base game was when it launched. So you get the best of both worlds. You get to own the game, and you get to play it day one without the price tag. I mean, hey man, it's the hustle.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of people. So you said something, Singer. You said only PC. I have somebody in the chat telling me Ubisoft Plus for day one release is only PC and Xbox. I didn't think Ubisoft Plus for day one was on Xbox.
It's not. No, it's not on Xbox. That's what came to consoles is something completely different to what we get. To what Ubisoft Plus is. So no, they're two different things. You get a select library, I think it is. You don't get day one releases. Yeah, because it's a completely different thing.
So do you have Ubi Plus? And shout out to Hero Down Under. He says $15 for Ultimate Edition is false. $15 to rush play through a game doesn't make sense. So he's EA Play. Oh, maybe it was EA Play. Maybe he meant EA
they
Play.
Did bring it to Xbox.
So you can get Ubisoft Plus on Xbox and play for $15. You pay $15 a month and play on Xbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Oh yeah. Of course it happened. Because I remember talking about that. Yeah. Okay. So it's a PC and Xbox exclusive. Shut it. PlayStation, get your stuff in order and get out there.
Get your stuff in order. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, I think here's my thing. If I'm going to play it, I'm probably going to play it. Okay. Well, Astro Cyborg is upset. This just did. He says it is on Xbox, though. Hey, listen, Singer said it, not me.
Yeah, you already said it is on Xbox.
Well, you changed your mind. You read something.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but I remember the story came out last year, and I just completely forgot about it. It's fine. Xbox is very forgettable.
Well, that's... Captain Chats, I believe you also said you have a PC. If Captain Chats has a PC, why wouldn't you play it on PC?
Well, that's what...
Because it'll play better there, Captain Chats.
Exactly. That's why you play it on PC.
I love the round and round and round we go. I have a PC, Mooch. It's great. It's the greatest PC of all time. By the way, you can play that on Ubisoft Plus on Xbox. What? What? All right. Thank you, Captain.
Can you imagine if a Ubisoft exec is watching your show, just like this bloody asshole, telling you subscribe for 1 month and unsubscribe?
Right? Yeah.
The thing is, they know people do this.
Well, they
and
definitely
do. It with
They
EA
definitely
as
do.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
PC gamers, man, they're the worst, I swear, because
We
they are the worst. They are the worst because not only do they like pirate, not only do they not want to spend as much on games, hence for most of the last few generations, PC games have been cheaper, right? Then they do these $15 deals and all these Humble Bundle and all this other stuff, while simultaneously spending thousands of dollars on the most premium rigs. It's like, NVIDIA, we'll keep lining your pockets, but game developers, no. We don't want to pay you any money.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's caveats to that. The discounts come from third-party sellers who get the games from the companies. So Greenman Gaming, they get their games given to them by the Ubisofts, the Sonys, the Xboxes. So they are passing a discount onto the consumer. Whatever
I meant
so it's not our fault.
RRP. I meant the RRP has been cheaper too historically, right? Not anymore, I don't think. I think.
Well, no, but either way, you are never paying for full price games generally because Greenman gives you 15% off on all new releases.
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining. At the end of the day, look, everyone, be frugal, save your money. I just think it's funny how the dichotomy of it, because it's like on the one hand you're saving dollars and pennies and $5 here, $2 there, and then your GPU costs like $2,500. It's like my dad used to say this thing, like I think it's penny wise, pound foolish, and it's like
Then again, the math masses though, because yes, you spent $2,000 on that GPU, but that'll be alive for the next 6 years. You add up how much you have to pay to play online for the next 6 years, and all the games you have to buy at full price because you don't get the discount. You math it out. That PC will last. Yeah, so it's like
to me, like, I'll just explain. Like, I agree with all of that. I'm not saying don't do things to save money. Like, I've always had Game Pass because I like saving money. So, not everyone has to do it. Not everyone likes sort of renting their games. But I think for me, like, I would always want the most attention and focus of my.
Nib, let me ask you a question
funds.
though, Nib. Nib, you said I have Game Pass because I like to save money. How many games this year have you played on Game Pass?
Yeah, barely any. Probably like 3, 2. And even then, not for long. I think the only one I've completed did to completion was Hellblade 2. But the point I was going to say is usually like, because Game Pass, the only reason I forego this in my head is because I think Xbox has already paid the licensing for this to go on the subscription service. So at the end of the day, I don't need to concern myself with it because the developer has already been paid. If they agree to a bad deal, the publisher, developer, whatever, that's on them. Like, at the end of the day, if you decide to put your title on this service, you have to ensure that the deal that you got, the compensation in terms of licensing, was sufficient. Okay, so that's on them to me. But in terms of like this whole thing about like where my finances would go, I just think it's weird because like I would want developers, the people making the actual content that I love, to be the ones who have the larger margins or the most funds in order to do more of that, as opposed to sort of hardware developers who make really crazy margins, but they're just making hardware. They're not actually making the art that we love and we consume.
Well, here's the thing. I am supporting the developers because, like, stuff like Avowed, I'd buy day one. Sure, I get it off Green Man, but Green Man paid the full price for the game, or whatever price they negotiated with all these companies. But they themselves are given the 15% off, right? So there must be some financials there that works, but that's just benefiting the consumer, which is me, which everything should benefit me. I'm the consumer. You're making the games for me. Everything should be of a benefit to me. But then you're supporting the devs because they're making money, but the amount of people who actually use Ubisoft Plus and EA Pro, EA Origin or whatever the heck they changed the name of it, that is significantly smaller than the amount of people who will actually go out and buy the games on console, for example. So they're making a boatload of money. The select people who decide to use Ubisoft Plus and EA Origin are in the vast minority. So it actually doesn't affect the pocketbooks of these developers and these publishers. So it's free wins across the board, baby. We support the developers.
Hey.
And also, if
Listen,
Ubisoft
Singer,
and EA... Oh, go on.
Singer, you definitely support. Did I don't think a lot of people have, probably a fifth of the games that you have. So it's not that you don't. You definitely do.
I'm probably single-handedly funding Neil Falcom. But, because I buy all the Trails of Cold Steel games and all their games and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's like... If it was affecting Ubisoft and EA, they wouldn't have that service on PC. They've had that service for years. So at this point, it's just that is what it is. And clearly it's not affecting their bottom line. Hence, they're still doing the service, right?
Yeah, I think like a lot of these subscription services at the moment, they're still in the lower rungs of the growth stages. So they are doing these things to essentially grow it outright. And so they probably are aware there's going to be people like him who abuse the system, but because they're trying to, grow I'm sure eventually they'll put some sort of limitation on this, like minimum subscription, like 3 months or something. I don't know. We'll see what they do. But you can even see like Microsoft now is tightening things up, right? Like now the limit that you can stack is much less. The price has gone up. The sort of the deals are all ending and stuff, so they are eventually gonna tighten things up. But it'll be interesting to see how long that takes.
Well, guys,
Mooch, if this this Ubisoft Plus thing was available on consoles and you could do a $15 subscribe and then unsubscribe, would you do it?
Would I do? So I would probably do it on a game that I don't care for, that I wanted to try, I guess. Maybe. But
what about Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws?
Star Wars Outlaws, I'm gonna buy. Like I said, I bought Star Wars. What is it? Is it Survivor? I bought that one. I still haven't even played it yet. But that's just because I gotta be honest with you, the game came out broken. I think everybody will agree with that. So then I just moved on to another game and I never went to it. But what was the other game you asked?
Assassin's Creed Shadows.
So you guys know, everyone's been following me for years. This has nothing to do with what's in the news recently. I legitimately don't really play Assassin's Creed games. They're just like 300 hours. It's like you open up your map, there's 7,000 things to do. Will I try this one? I don't know. I probably wouldn't buy it day one. I never bought. The only Assassin's Creed I can tell you I bought day one was Valhalla. And you go, well, why? Because when I went to go pick up my Xbox Series X, that was the game that was available, that was new, and I was like, well, I'll buy it on the Xbox because they didn't have any first party games when they launched their console. So so I picked up Valhalla. I was like, well, I want to play something next generation on my Xbox Series X, so I bought that. And I can tell you right now, I'll check my runtime. I think I played it for 5 hours, and I was like, it's Assassin's Creed. I'm good. I don't want to play it. I just don't want to play. Like Assassin's Creed to me, I don't know. It's very, very monotonous. I know they go, well, Mooch, every game's, the same thing over and over. I get it, but maybe some things to me are more fun to do over and over again than what's in Assassin's Creed. Like, you know what I mean?
Is, I'm with you, Mooch, because the only reason I beat Valhalla was because I paid the $15 for the month. I wasn't going to pay to lose it.
God bless you for you beat it, Singer.
Yeah.
Yes, I beat it. I beat it within the month. I cracked on with it.
I'll tell you right now, that's it. You should earn an Olympic medal. That's
the thing is, like,
the longest game on bloody.
I mean, it was long, but I beat it within the month and then immediately hit unsubscribe, and I was like, thank goodness for that. But like,
Dessinger, you know why I think it's like, so I usually actually buy physical. I know it probably seems archaic to a PC gamer, but yes, if I buy a game physical and I don't like it, I literally can just stick it on eBay and get basically all my money back. So it can literally cost me nothing. Sometimes I've even profited. Like so I'm not too bothered. Like if I really don't like it, then I can just sell it on. And if I do like it, I usually just don't bother selling it because then they get the full money and. It's fine. Like, I don't care. We're talking the difference between like 30, 40 quid sometimes. And I know it's a lot of money to a lot of people, but then there's that whole thing with like, you don't mind paying towards things that you really enjoy, right? Like your hobbies or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting. But, maybe I would do what you're doing if it was available on console, to the games where like my interest was kind of middling. Like I wasn't really excited to buy it, but I still kind of wanted to try it. Mm-hmm. I might do that in those situations.
Well, the thing is, with games that aren't on a subscription, you see, I try them. But thanks to Steam, they have a very, very, very generous refund policy.
Well, you say that every week, Singer. So how generous is it? I remember I thought Steam was if you two weeks in possession or less than 2 hours of play. What is it now?
The thing is, the 2 hours isn't necessarily true. It depends on the issue.
That's why I'm asking. I don't know.
The 2 hours is no questions asked refund.
Okay.
Right. So 2 hours, you can put whatever crap reason you want to refund the game and they'll refund it.
Okay,
to you, right?
Fair enough.
Now, if you play 4 hours, you could get refunds. Like, people refunded I know a few people, shout out to them, who refunded their Concords because they just wanted to play the beta before it went open. Shout out to Steam, giving everyone's refunds for Concord. Yeah. But it was like, and some people had more than 2 hours in the game and they still gave the refund. So, I mean, so long as it's reasonable, like if you put 10 hours into the game, don't really expect a refund. But
I was going to say, I would think between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the game.
That's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot. 2 to 4 hours. Like, I mean, to be honest, after you play the game for 2 hours, you could probably figure out if you like it or not anyway.
Absolutely, so. I completely agree with that. I think I would think that settles. Listen, first of all, again, no absolutes, right? So I would say 90%. 90% of games. Let's do 10 because if you played 4 hours of Hellblade 2, you beat it. So I mean, it's one of those situations where I think when it comes down to, I think 90% of games probably Detzinger. I completely agree with you. And I think that is very, very. You say shout out to Steam. Congratulations. That is a very gracious return policy.
Well, I mean, if you compare it to what PlayStation and Xbox.
Oh yeah, no, forget it.
Oh,
listen,
yes.
I'm because I've always I've grown up a console gamer. I can't tell you how many games on the NES and SNES I would go buy just like some of the craziest smaller type of games. And there was times I loved them. Sometimes I bought them and I didn't care for them. But you know what I did as a kid? We didn't have the option. You know when we say shout out to options? Well, if you're an 80s kid, we didn't have that. It was, here's the game you got. Now play it. Oh, cool. Well, I guess I'll play this forever. So that was kind of how it went down. So we didn't have the options. Now there's a lot of options.
I was there, Mooch. I was there.
Well, Singer, I'm just giving you the benefit of the doubt. I was thinking you were younger in a great way, by the way.
Well, my first console was the Sega Master System.
Okay. All right. You're right there. Singer, I'm telling you, love this guy. Love him. Absolutely love him. Guys, outstanding show. Great show tonight. As you can see, the panel. Listen, it's Thursday night. It's summer. People are barbecuing. They're swimming. Maybe they're playing video games outside on their handhelds. I don't know what's going on. But I was very happy to have this amazing panel. Like I said, some people had to leave earlier. I really wanted to talk a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws with the great Mr. Bad Bit. But you know what? Here's the good news. Star Wars doesn't come out till the end of the month, and we have more CrossFire coming up. So I'll have to bother the great Mr. Bad Bit to get him back on the show. By the way, speaking of that, and I'll make announcements throughout Twitter and on the YouTube channel as well. Next Thursday, we are off next Thursday. I've got an event that came up. It shifted dates. I'm not going to be on next Thursday, guys. So we will be taking next week off. I may do, if something crazy happens in the news, which I highly doubt, because I think September is the big month for news. I'll do a quick video and update, real quick 5-minute, 6-minute video. Going over what was going on in the news. But yeah, no CrossFire next week. I'll be putting that on the channel, and you guys will see it on Twitter. I want to say thanks to everybody. Shout out to MASH. 40 gifted subs tonight, guys. Shout out to the great James Vincent. Warzone, RPK, new meta, conversion kit mod. Shout out to James Vincent. Me and James are thinking about maybe doing some Call of Duty Warzone stream this weekend. Real nonchalant. Follow me. It's Mooch TV everywhere. M00CHTV. That's here, Twitch, and over on X. Follow me over there, guys, because that's where I give my basically my schedule for Twitch streaming. Outstanding show. I see Moose there. I see a lot of you guys. Great. Mary Wilcox. Shout out to you. PC Hawk, Impatient Fire, Chad, Casual, all you guys out there. Great talking to all you guys. Shout out to Ricardo as well. See a lot of great people. Gambit, JC 2013. Guys, hit the like button while we still have 170 people here. I really appreciate all you guys coming out. I know there's not a lot of news. I know that you guys will all be here in a fiery rage in September. It's going to be wild. It's going to be real wild. Looking forward to it. Guys, let's go in reverse order here. The great Death Singer, guys. Singer, love having you on the show. You know that. I think it's a lot of fun talking games with you. I love the different perspectives. You bring a whole nother angle to the show. Singer, let people know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight, buddy.
Oh, no problem. It's always a pleasure coming on, and I am available every single time, every single week.
Love it. Love it.
Like I am, I am there, and you can find me normally, not this week though, at the Asher Lucas channel doing Scumcast.
Yeah, shout out to Luca.
Luca, Forte, and Slow-Mo. And we're normally chopping up over there Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern, but there's no show this week. So it'll be next week for us and the gang. And considering, hey, that's crazy, right? You had a show this week. Scumcast isn't happening this week. Next week, you're not having a show, but Scumcast is happening. Wild how that works.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, shout out to the chat. Huge fans. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate, including my avid fans in the chat. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the love I receive every week I come on. Shout out to the wonderful panel too.
I'll be honest. I don't even usually look at the comments. The first time I'm looking at the comments now on live, like I usually don't have it loaded up.
Oh, you have to. You have to, Nib. You have to. That's a big part of the show. I did
that one time where he said he was getting hater comments, so I went on just to see. I was like, what? These people are savage.
Yes, Singer takes it like an absolute champion. He is awesome.
He does.
He's been doing these podcasts for a very long time. The great JC
Mooch,
2013.
Explain something to me.
Go ahead,
it's nearly 3 a.m. here in the UK.
Sure.
How come it's always British people who are left on your podcast?
I don't know. There is. I'll be honest with you. Not only are there British people on my panel, I think a lot of the people listening right now that are here in the chat are also from the UK as well.
Really?
I do. Well, I will say, I want to say shout out to all the great people of the UK, because to be honest with you guys, the demographic that comes back, of course, majority is US. But I got to tell you, I think it's upwards of 35. I'll look and give you guys an answer next time we're on in 2 weeks. I think I'm upwards of 35% of my audience is from the UK. I mean, I think that's a very large number.
Wow, that's actually very impressive.
Yeah,
I'm not going to brag, but the king for me stayed for you, Mooch. You know?
No, thank you. The king for me.
Yeah, man. The king for me realized I was batshit crazy and stayed for you because you're reasonable. You know?
You know what? Let me say this for you. Let me hold myself out. Just for your UK audience, let me say one thing. So, guys, I have 1 year of Game Pass Ultimate going for, I think it's 80 quid, right? Which is half the retail price. Usually it's like 150 or 160 or whatever it is. No, it's even more than that.
It's more than that.
Actually, it's gone up. Yeah, it's gone up in price. So basically, I bought 4 years worth, but I forgot Microsoft only allow you to stack 3 years. So I have a year spare. Someone find me on Twitter, dib95_ if you want that extra year of Ultimate. All right.
That's great. You're giving away a year, Nib.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why not?
Well, I'll tell you right now. I hope panel members can apply. I'm just saying. Jeez, throwing out a year. That's a big deal, folks. You guys better go over and follow him. Guys, it's Nib95_ over on Twitter. Go over and follow Nib, please. Also, if you want to be educated, go follow Nib, not just for gifts. Nib, great to have you here as well. I'll do a quick rundown. Shout out to TCMF2. That's at TCMF2 over on X. At Mr. Badbit. You guys already know. And Link also wrote me. Link was going to be on the show. We'll see if we can get him on in 2 weeks. Link said he got held up at work. He was going to join us. He was really going to chime off on a couple of these great topics we had tonight. But guys, hit that like button on the way out. Tell people about the show. Tomorrow on Twitter, paste this and just put it everywhere. Be like, my God, what a great Crossfire. You guys got to check out Crossfire. Otherwise, we were going to see you guys over on Twitch sometime this weekend. I think me and the great James Vince are going to be doing a little Warzone. Just chilling. Honestly, just chilling, relaxing, talking to the chat, having a good time, probably raging a little bit of rage. You know, that's what Warzone does to you. But nonetheless, guys, again, hit that like button on the way out. Thanks to the great panel. Brap will hopefully be back in 2 weeks. Got to get a hold of Brap. Yeah, guys, enjoy the weekend. We'll see you guys.
Thank you so much, gents.
Peace, everybody. Good night.
Enjoy. Take care.